to
Welcome. This is Be More For Real. We got a specialty. I am Uncle Wayne, joined by again my co-host Daniel.
welcome. All the Be More For Real, all of the real explosion. This is Be More For Real podcast brought to you by way of Real Explosion. We have some lovely guests today. Oh man, please introduce yourselves. Tell everybody about yourselves very briefly.
Yeah, we're going to keep this way because our specialty is our mayoral candidate. Now, this is the first one, the realest. Here we go.
I love my introductions from Jason. So can I get an introduction, Jason?
I don't know why she likes this, but folks, she's known as the Peopletician. She's been out in the community 25 plus years. She's a housing advocate. She has an organization, a nonprofit organization, People Empowered by the Struggle, which is a one-stop shop for all struggles that Baltimoreans may be going through. And we've even helped folks outside of the state of Maryland, outside of Baltimore City. So family, give it up for the frontliner, the grassroots activist, the abolitionist, civil rights leader, Yolanda Pulley.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I am Yolanda Pulley, and I didn't choose to run for mayor because I had feet. I chose to run because it's a lot of problems in Baltimore City. And I think my man. Hello? Okay. So, we know about the generational curses that affect Black people in Baltimore City, and we chose to address that. We go out here and we fight for people every day, but unfortunately, everything that we do makes somebody else look good. So we chose to run for mayor because we would have more power and more leverage to help more people in Baltimore City.
That's awesome. That is really, really awesome. So tell us the grassroots of where you started the campaign, or what actually got you into filing all the correct information in order to get you on the ballot. What was that motivation like?
Yeah, because listen, I told them we had to ask that question because listen, a lot of people at the Board of Education has been flipped around. And we had a guest that was before you, I don't want to mention any names, that address don't even live here and on the ballot. How did that happen? Tell us more about that.
So it's several people that's on the ballot that doesn't live in Baltimore.
But how is that done? And it's supposed to be the Board of Education. It's supposed to be elections, you're right. But all of those departments are so rapid. But yeah, Board of Elections. How does that happen though? Tell me.
So unfortunately, they only have to have residency here for 6 months.
6 months?
In order to run for
so all they had to do is have a lease for 6 months?
Nobody said you had to own your property. Nobody even said you had to rent. You can be leasing it.
For six months.
As long as you got a jar of jelly in the refrigerator, they consider that a residency. So we have a lot of people that think that they can come in Baltimore City. Maybe they feel like we're so incompetent that we can't fix ourselves.
Yeah.
And they come and they run for our city seats.
I think that's the problem with our politics, is that we have a lot of transient people that come into Baltimore only for the opportunity. They're not coming to serve the people. They don't have a history of serving the people. When you really look at their background, they really don't even have a love for the people. Because if they did have a love for the people, one of the first things that you would hear is a Black agenda. You don't hear one particular politician in Baltimore City that's talking about past and old, past and new. I'm sorry, old and new. You don't hear one politician that's talking about a Black agenda in the city that is majority Black. So when you look at those dynamics, you realize that people are only coming to Baltimore to be an opportunist. They're coming to take advantage of the opportunity and the power that the mayor's office wields, and not necessarily looking at serving the people.
Right. Well, let's go ahead and get into it. So what is the basic plan, the basic agenda, the basic itinerary that you guys had for the city?
Oh, that's a lot. You know, because I've been here my whole life, and you know, I lived in some of the parts of the city that they consider some of the worst, from Cherry Hill to West Baltimore. Yeah, so I'm from Cherry Hill. I grew up in West Baltimore, but then when I became an adult, I moved to what they considered Murder Mall, and I spent 25 years of my life in Murder Mall. See, one thing that I have understood about the system
I want
so
to cut you
far.
off. You hear a lot of that online. What is Murder Mall?
Murder Mall is
Because you hear that online, but a lot of people have no clue. Where did they come with that terminology at? Explain to everyone.
Well, it's called Madison Park North Apartments, but it was so many bodies dropping in Madison Park, especially down in the mall area, where the stores was, where the market was. It was then considered Murder Mall. That's where the name transcended from. And I watched, once I started to get older, you know, I was a part of the problem out in the streets, so, you know, that's why we build people empowered by struggle, because this right here is redemption for us. We are self-funded. We don't receive funding from nobody, and we go out here and we fight for people all day, every day. We're 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We don't take off for your birthday, my birthday, Jesus' birthday, nor the resurrection day, because we believe in life hours and not business hours. So when I was growing up, see, you notice the key word, because I moved there when I was 18. I had just barely turned 18. And then I grew up. I aged in Madison Park. And there was no leverage to come out. I didn't see a way out, because every time I went and got a job, my rent got raised, my social services benefits got cut off, they cut my food stamps, and everything fell on me as a single parent. And then one day I woke up and said, you know what, I have outgrown my neighborhood, it's time to fix it. And that's what I've been doing, tenant advocacy, ever since.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And big brother Jason, you never got a chance to introduce yourself, so let people know a little bit about yourself as well, and a bit about your background.
Yeah.
I'm known in the streets as Brother Jason. I started one of the first Cop Watch organizations, the Baltimore chapter of Cop Watch, back in 2010, after I was violently assaulted by a home invasion by Baltimore City police officers. That's when I realized that there was definitely a problem. I was living in Brooklyn homes, living in the housing projects. I really realized that there was a problem.
Brooklyn homes?
Well, Brooklyn homes. Brooklyn homes in South Baltimore. That's where I was living at for over 14, 15 years. Was a pillar in the community. I never had any issues when it came down to the police was concerned. But this one particular day, there was an illegal home invasion by police. And that really kind of inspired me to start the Baltimore chapter of Cop Watch, because what I found out was that folks didn't really know how to flex their rights. Folks didn't know how to articulate to the police when their rights were being violated. So it was important for me to start an organization that not only tried to address the issue of policing, poor policing, bad policing in our city, but to also educate and empower our community to be able to flex and exercise their rights. So that was my humble beginnings in getting involved in the grassroots community. But I'm an old street cat, so I'm almost 15 years, 20 years in the streets before all that really took place. I grew up in the crack epidemic. I was a part of the dope game, the crack game in the 80s. So I kind of watched it from both aspects of it. I watched it from the street level, and then as I tried to get my life together, because when I was living in Brooklyn homes, I wasn't really in the streets anymore. I was an older adult, I was working, I wasn't partaking in that activity anymore. But then even as a, what you call a regular average citizen, I would notice that average citizens would be victimized by police. It wasn't just, the jump out boys jumping out on the dope boys jumping out, when I was out there in the streets. It wasn't just the police jumping out on us because we were doing bad things, but even innocent people were getting caught in the crossfire of a police state, of a war against drugs. And so you know, like Yolanda said, this is our redemption. We call it our atonement stage of life. We've done things in our lives that weren't necessarily always respectful of the community, and we realized that. So now it's time to atone for those sins and give back to the community. So
That's
that's
called
awesome.
like a team.
That's awesome.
But right, but see, it's going to take a team. No, not to cut you off. You know your name, man. It's going to take a team. You know, because Baltimore needs a team because we are so deep in this mess. One person can't get us out, and outside definitely not going to understand. Because outside trying to understand to get us out, they trying to benefit from it and understand at the same time. You know that's not going to work. So a team effort definitely, especially from both of y'all come from two different sides, understanding the same thing. Hey, listen, tell us more. Tell us more.
What's interesting is that, you know, being in the streets, we had an opportunity to see things at the front line level. So, you know, we've seen, you know, everything from domestic violence to drug addiction to the shootings, you know, the murders. You know, we all have lived through that. And what's interesting is that both me and Yolanda have evaluated this, and we always said, well, why are we in this condition? Because you got to remember, Yolanda was born into this. I was born into this. You understand that the dope game was here already. The streets was here already. The violence was here already. The impoverishment, the alcoholism, you know, the domestic violence, the broken homes, you know, the teenage pregnancies, all of these particular issues that are systemic in a lot of black communities, a lot of black urban communities around the country was already here generationally.
You didn't fill out an application, did you?
No. We in some cases we got jumped in, you know, into it. But what's interesting is that we have to understand the history of how we got here, and that's one of the things that me and Yolanda have really been doing recently is researching, really trying to understand how we got here. Going back to the early 1900s, looking at the Great Black Migration and understanding why are we in the condition that we're in. Let's go back even further than that and look at the 1800s and the 1700s as this, you know, area called Baltimore was being colonized. You know, how did we end up here? Who were the first black people here? Who were the first settlements here? You know, how did we thrive? How did we survive economically? How did we survive through colonization and white supremacy and all these things that were going on? And we're realizing that, unfortunately, you know, that Baltimore technically has never really been in a position where black people have really been given the opportunity to succeed.
Okay, so with that being said, and that's an awesome,
Very much.
that is an awesome monologue. I mean, just the rundown of the history, that's something people don't know. You know, if you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you're going.
Absolutely.
It's important to know that. So with that being said, I heard you guys mention about the police, and Yolanda, I want to ask you this as well. Because you're on the mayor elect, what do you plan to do with the police plan? You know, everybody has their own strategic crime plans and stuff like that. So what are y'all plans in terms of police and given the statements that you guys just made about your history and our history with the police?
From the inside out.
Well, you know, certain. I'm not a politician. I'm a people's titian. So I
Say that one more time. They need to hear that one.
Yeah, I'm not a politician. I'm a people's titian. So, you know, I understand that both sides of the police force. Unfortunately, that's our first line of defense because, you know, when we're talking about home invasions and shootings and crime, we can't expect social workers to come in and do the police job. So unfortunately, we need them, even though we know the history of the police department and why it was created, because that badge does not stand for police, it stands for slave catcher. So, you know, I wanted to actually disband the police department and increase the sheriff department because we technically don't need both. We don't need both. We could do one or the other. The sheriff department was here before a police department. And like I said, the history tells us that police never had black people's back. They're doing their job from the beginning. Their job is to catch black people. Their job is to degrade black men. But like I said, double-edged sword, unfortunately, they're the ones that we have to call when we need help. So we can't actually talk about defunding police.
Right.
We can't defund police because who are we going to have to step in and do that job? So we have to expand the police department by doing certain things like bringing certain initiatives back, like increasing their salaries. We're talking about lowering their time back down to 25 years of retirement and 20 years instead of, yes, 20 years because now it's 25. Right. Instead of them, waiting 25 years to retire, they can retire back out at 20 years. And we have to
20 instead of 25.
Right, 20.
Okay.
So we have to increase their benefits because as soon as they step outside of the police cadet training, after they go through, Baltimore County is out there waiting to take out police officers, and they don't mind paying the $12,000 for the training to take what we already have.
Yeah, there's multiple. There are multiple agencies that are waiting once they graduate from the academy that are willing to hire them because they've gone through the cadet training, they've gone through the background check and all the psychological and all the stuff that they need to qualify just to get through the cadet program. So as soon as they graduate, they're out there recruiting.
It's their training.
Right.
It's their training that they have that they want.
Right.
Because listen, we do know, just like you said, police officer used to be slave patrol. You're right. Look it up. It's history. It's facts.
Right.
Slave patrol, police officer. Listen, you're absolutely correct.
And when you
so
look
did
at
the tactics change?
Right. Even when you look at like New York City, where because New York, Chicago, most of these big major cities are where a lot of the police departments that we know of, the structure that we know of currently, actually formulated from cities like Chicago and New York. You have to understand that they were hired to protect white property.
That's it. That was their
They were hired to protect white property. That's all it was.
So that structure and their bylaws, were they still the same?
So let me just answer the police. We know that you guys probably wouldn't be looking for the police to vote. So who are the voters that you're looking for to actually fill those ballots up with the votes? Because I guess a lot of the police department, the chief of police, they probably wouldn't be a part of the agenda. So how do you oversee that?
Right. They don't live here. We know Richard Morley, didn't live here, when he was hired.
Live here.
Right. Even when he was training, for the position, when Commissioner Harrison, tapped him for the position, he still wasn't a resident of Baltimore City.
That's strange.
Most of them probably are. Most of the damn officers probably are from the city.
Yeah, a lot of them are transferred.
How can you be a police officer in Baltimore City and do not live here now?
Well,
explain that one to me.
Well, see, the thing is, the top officials have to live in Baltimore City.
Correct.
The top officials, but police officers do not have to live in Baltimore City because they're saying that Baltimore City is dangerous. So if you have a police officer that live on a block with me and say I live on South Smallwood Street, what does that look like for him and his family walking out of the door? But the thing that I don't agree with is integrating them from military backgrounds because we know that they deal with a lot of stigma and then they haven't never transitioned to become civilians to come back over here and live amongst us. So they still have that military mentality when they're talking about attacking people. And the ones that's on the attack is us.
Right. So I actually heard about some of your endeavors down in Cherry Hill trying to get voters and stuff like that. Can you explain the trials and tribulations and some things that you saw there about your mission there?
Unfortunately, black people, is politically ignorant. And politically, we're dying off in the political race.
What do you mean by that? Can you tell me?
By not having a say so, because back in the 80s they started a campaign to say your vote don't matter. So, that has been embedded into the poor black community. I don't vote because my vote don't matter. You don't hear Chinese people saying it. You don't hear Jewish people saying it. You don't hear your white counterpart saying it. You only hear black people saying it because, again, it's intentional. If my conditions in my neighborhood never changed, even though it has been 1 million people that took that seat. But nothing ever changed for my community. What does that look like?
Yeah.
So when we went to Cherry Hill and we was knocking on doors, my son encountered this young man that was like maybe about 1 or 2 years older than him. My son was 18 at the time. And he said, my mother's not home. And he said, well, can you give this to her? And he was like, well, how old are you? He said, I'm 20. My son was like, oh, he was like, yeah, because I can't wait till I turn 21 to vote. Yeah, it shocked my son too. He was
Wow,
like,
let that register.
right. And he said, well, what do you mean? He said, you don't have to be 21 to vote. You can vote at 18. And when my son told him that, he was like, I'm registered to vote now, and I'm going to vote, Pulley for mayor. And he was like, you mean to tell me that I can vote at 18? I said, sweetheart, what they don't tell you is that, yes, you can go to central booking. How you know you can go to central booking at 18, but don't know you can't vote at 18? And then you live in a household full of people that never told you that you can vote at 18. That's being politically ignorant, and they bank on us not knowing that we can vote. That's why they took civics out of school, because when we were growing up, and we had to learn our civics. We knew who the mayor was, we knew who the city council was, we knew the 3 branches of government and what everybody did. Right, basic knowledge. But now they took that outside about free education, and now you have to pay to go to college. And then what is it called when you go to college and get it? It's called political science. Right, correct.
Right. I think we have to also look at the fact that technically our community feels that we haven't benefited from voting. When you even go back to the beginning with the bus rides, Selma, everything that went on in reference to trying to register, tens of thousands of blacks in the South at the time. Although we were able to get out of those obstacles of counting the jelly beans and aptitude tests, and we were finally given the right, with the Voters Act that was passed in the 1960s, we were finally given the opportunity to register to vote without discrimination. We still didn't see any benefit of it. We came out of the civil rights struggle in the 60s. And really and truly, when you look at black wealth, and I'm not talking about black richness, I'm talking about black wealth. There's a difference between being rich and being wealthy. Chris Rock talks about it all the time, and he talks about it in a skit. He says, if you're rich, you can spend your money and end up being broke next week. But if you're wealthy, like a Bill Gates or Steve Jobs, you have generational wealth. You have wealth that's passed on to your children, like the Pacarakas family. You know what I mean? Like the Angelos family. These are families that are passing that Baltimore wealth to their next generation. So because we haven't seen the benefits of the struggles, of the dogs being sicked on us, the hoses being beaten with the batons, coming out of that civil rights era, we haven't really seen the benefits. To have the first black president that we identify as a black president, because there has been other Moorish mixed presidents in our lifetime that we don't want to identify as black presidents. But the first president that we identify as black, Barack Obama, we really feel that we didn't overcome. We didn't get anything or benefit anything out of President Obama. So matter of fact, you had the largest enrollment of black voters right before President Obama was elected.
Right.
But now you have the biggest drop-off of black voters after Barack Obama, because we watched that 8 years go by, and we feel like we didn't benefit from it. So it's like, well, why even renew? Why even register? Let them purge me out. I don't care if I'm no longer registered as a voter, because I don't see anything that I benefit from it.
But it also has a name, Jason. Tell them the name that it's called. It's called Learned Hopelessness.
Yeah.
And it's intentional.
Learn
This conversation, see the deepness of this conversation. This is how we're being taught, because see how we're learning now? This is a conversation we need to have. The forms, we can't get this at no forum. We can't get this. No one's teaching anyone. Top 5 conversations that nobody want to have.
And it's brought to you by Be More For Real. by way of real exposure. So make sure y'all tune in, keep that, stay tuned in, because we want to give you guys the real, the be more for real. Everything there is to know about Baltimore, all of the mayor, elects, all the candidates that they don't show in the news, we are going to give you guys the drop right here.
To really get to know the candidates and to know why they are the candidates.
As you can see, education has been a lot of things on a lot of people's mind as well. And you know, we were talking about the ignorance in voting, but what about the ignorance in education, the Baltimore City education, the school systems, the head of the educational system? What are you guys' plans as far as that goes?
Okay, so we're the first organization that called for the resignation of Santa Lisa's back in 2021.
Okay.
We stood in front of City Hall and we called for her resignation. If you know how the dynamics of the educational system and the mayor works, then you know that a mayor cannot fire the CEO of Baltimore City Schools. No, we only can approach it from the school board aspect. So we are now fighting in Annapolis to get a fully elected board so we can get rid of Dr. Sonia Santelises that makes more money than the president and the vice president of the United States.
Wow.
We have more,
yeah.
right. So we have more children, we have less children in our educational system than we did 2 years ago, but the money per child goes up. So like over 2,500 students now from last year to now is now being homeschooled to the point where home and hospital won't let you register no more children to be homeschooled because they're taking them out the educational system when the money should actually follow the child. It does not. It stays into the educational system. So with almost $22,000 per child times 70-something thousand children, that brings you to a budget of $1.6 billion. You mean to tell me that you cannot educate a black child for $1.6 billion? Well, I always use this analysis. One of my favorite little shows used to be Little House on the Prairie.
Oh, was one of ours as well.
Right, so we watch these children, little Laura and all of them, go to the schoolhouse with all different ages, and they were sitting in front of the teacher learning. How much money was actually put into those educational systems then versus what we have now? More money do not equate to quality education, especially when we're talking about the failure to educate the Negro child. So if we're talking about changing the educational system, then we have to change it when we have to start with the curriculum. Who teaches? If we teach our black babies and they start looking at books. Now this is the crazy part. You won't bring in certain parts of black history books for our children to learn in. But we're still up there fighting now about, this book with two gay boys that actually have pornographic content. And talking about leaving that in our school system, please make it make sense to me. It do. The little boys is pulling each other's pants down and they're exploring the area because they realize that they like each other. Right. So why is that a thing? But we're talking about removing Maya Angelou, and we don't see any or hear anything about Langston Hughes, Malcolm X. We're not hearing anything about the Black Panther Party because they considered that as, revolutionary education.
Terrorist.
Right.
Terrorist group.
Right. So my father was a Black Panther. And
your dad was a Black Panther?
My father was a Black Panther. That's where my revolutionary. I call myself a self-proclaimed abolitionist because I was born in Black History
Month. That's a deep, rich history. I'm telling you that is.
I think you got to look at the history of the school system too, and this is something that we've really been studying. We did not benefit from desegregation.
No.
As soon as we integrated into the white schools, there was white flight. The white parents took the children out, which the dollars followed, those parents because most of them were homeowners. We were renters, so the tax dollars followed the homeowners, not the renters. Right. The educators left. The best of the best educators left. When we were self-sufficient, we had good schools. They may not have been the best facilities It may have been in a hole in the wall, but it was ours,
And it was
and
strong.
right, and it was strong in reference to the teaching.
And we were growing. Listen, we had a lot of work to do, but we were growing. It was out. Listen.
It's where you get the HBCUs from. We got the HBCUs because we couldn't go to the white institutions, the white universities, so we started Howard University.
And we
started Morgan State, which originally started as Morgan High School, from what I understand. So it went from Morgan High School to Morgan State University. So these were Maryland University, Eastern Shore. Because again, way out there, in Eastern Shore, you couldn't go to the white universities.
Correct.
So we have the best of the best already facilitated in our community, but there's this notion, that the white man's ice is colder, his glass is cleaner,
There we go.
the water is filtered better, has better minerals, and we want to seek towards the white man's glass.
We must have. We
Awesome,
must.
awesome.
Yeah.
So with everything that's being said, what would you say to the people that say, okay, well, Baltimore has white people too? You know what I'm saying? What about the white people? What would you say to that?
Well, I would say, you have yours, just like we've been taught. You have yours and we got ours to get. But not understanding that, the curses that's been put on black people. How is it that everybody has an agenda, but black people is called racist when we talk about a black agenda?
Right.
And the worst thing that we could have ever did was integrate. We could have kept our own, just like everybody else. The Jews had their own. White people have their own. The Koreans have their own. The only ones that's being blackballed out of everything is black people. So we're the only candidates that's talking about a black agenda. We're the only candidates that's talking about a black education. And then when we understand the black education, when the history is actually taught right, you would actually know white people are our children.
You got to understand how we got here, though, right? When you really look at it, again, as we've looked at it historically wise, we have never been given a even playing field, with our white counterparts. Even when Jewish people started coming, even the Jewish people, had better opportunities. Then you also have to look at the way that racism was kind of established here, or how, put it like this, enslavement oppressed us here in the United States. When you look at the comparison of, like, let's say Central America and Latin America, you have the Portuguese, you had enslavement, you have things like that went on with the Aztecs and the Peruvians and all the folks that were in Latin America. The difference was that they didn't practice this separation of whites versus blacks, or Hispanics versus blacks in Central America and Latin America. Here, the English and the Dutch and those that were involved in the slave trade here in the United States, which was mostly English ruled and Spanish ruled, they were very purposeful. They were very kind of straight and strict in reference to the separation of blacks versus whites. And they were oppressive to people that were of color. Didn't matter what the color was. Look what they did to the indigenous people. Look what they did to people that came over as enslaved. Look at what they did to the free men. Because you had people that came over with the original colonizers that were black men. We keep forgetting this, that not everybody came over as a slave. A lot of people came over as indentured servants, as servants. To pay for their way of coming over to the so-called New World, right? But we have to understand that oppression was so embedded in our community, the systematic and systemic, the issues that were purposely done in our community. We went from things like our freedoms being taken away because, again, we came as indentured servants to being, considered to be permanent indentured servants, to enslaved people, then even after, Emancipation Proclamation and the so-called freeing of black people around this country, we went through systematic things like Jim Crow, sharecropping, you know what I mean? The burning of Wall Street, the burning of Rosewood, you know what I mean? It seemed like every time that we made some strides, or every time we tried to accomplish something as a race, as a mighty people, white people came and destroyed it. White people came and attacked it.
It's actually a part of history now.
It's history.
Yeah, because it's a part of history, and history has a tend of repeating itself over and over again. We was watching this documentary. We watch a lot of documentaries, And the one we was talking, really watching is, what is it called, color?
Hidden colors.
Hidden colors.
Hidden colors.
So, in
I like that one, hidden colors.
Right.
They got so many parts to that, right?
Yeah, five parts.
Right, so in hidden colors, when you see that during the 1920s and above, when black people started to make something of themselves, and this is why I don't agree with suits and ties and dresses. They made sure that these people was lynched in their Sunday's best outfit. So that's why I don't agree with, putting on the Scoggins, because it was still a slave mentality when they wanted to dress up us like we were doll babies and take us to church. So they would put these weird looking clothes on us to try to assimilate them. I don't like that.
That's what we got Sunday's best from, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So, when we're talking about the history here in Baltimore, that's why me and Jason now was talking about doing a documentary on the black history. Because in order for history to stop repeating itself in our poor black communities, we have to teach them. And there's nothing wrong with learning. Where we fail at is when we stop learning.
Yes.
So, we have to continue the learning into why we were done, because we know that everything basically in slavery started here, because this is where the Constitution was signed at, where John Hancock put his name on it in the state of Maryland. So we know that redlining started here and is still here. So they took lynching out of one part and they actually put it in another part. So I ask people all day long, who was the first black man that was ever lynched? Jesus. Jesus was never hung from a cross.
He hung on a tree. That's the Bible.
He hung from a tree, and that's in the book of Acts.
Yeah, he hung on a tree.
Correct.
Teaching us, we still.
We know Jesus was a black man.
But see, that's where lynching came from, and why white people used it against us, because they used our Bible against us to enslave us.
I just said that recently on our radio show. That basically the Bible is the oldest black history book.
Correct.
When you really look at it, it's really about the 25th dynasty. And you have to go back and look at the 25th dynasty, which white Europeans and white Egyptians tried to write that out. If you go to the museum in Egypt, in Cairo, and you go in there, you'll see all the dynasties. But when you get to the 25th dynasty is missing, and they go straight to the 26th and the 27th dynasty, where the Greeks and all of them come in at to rule Egypt. They look at that era. They missed the 25th dynasty because that's the era that the Bible was written. That's when there were more black pharaohs in that region. That's when Nubia and Kemet, that's when all of that ruled that region. And in some cases they say Cain took care of Abel. So Abel being Israel and us being, descendants of Cain. We took care of each other, you know what I mean? We took care of each other. But we're so far away from that, now,
Well, we don't get this conversation from other mayors because the news try to, they do. Right, they do what they do.
Well, I'm sorry that we gotta wrap this up. Love you, Danny. But listen, Yolanda, we love you. And listen, Jason, here, but we gotta wrap this up. Now, the last few moments, we're gonna take this time, talk to us, and tell us what you want Baltimore to know about you.
Absolutely. What's your mission statement?
My mission statement is, there's so many. I need black people to understand us. I need black people to understand that black is not a dirty word. I need black people to understand that we cannot stop running for political seats. You do not have to be a politician to run. There's no such thing as qualified. There's no such thing as experience. These are the things that keep black people from running, and we have to change the narrative of why we're running for seats. We can't run just because, like I said, we have feet. We have to run because we understand the black curses that was put on Baltimore City and how we were never afforded the opportunity. No black person should be running for no seat in Baltimore if you don't understand our generational curse that has been bestowed upon us. Me, as a daughter of a Black Panther, and my grandparents being missionaries in the church, I come from a wide variety of people who actually fought, who actually loved, and who actually served the communities. So that's what makes me different from everybody else. Well, you have to do this, that, third. No, I talk like the people because I am the people. In order to understand the people, you have to be one of them. We're tired of having people sitting over top of our struggles that don't understand, but they're creating laws about us. If you understood our juveniles that's out here, you would have known that this right here is because of y'all, of why we're sitting up here struggling with our youth now. When you sat up there and told us that we could not discipline our children, when you sat up there and gave us food stamps and check and Section 8 and all that stuff, and you took the black man out the household, we have to understand what's intentional and what's not. So yes, I'm Yolanda Pulley and I'm running for mayor, and I'm not afraid to say that I have an all-black agenda because I am black. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate you guys. We want for real, brought to you by the way of Real Explosion.
I am on the way.
With all your mans, man.
I'm Daniel. Remember, be more for real, y'all. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, conversation. Thanks, Yolanda. We appreciate you guys.
Thank you. Thanks, Dan.
All right.
Be more for real. Back at you again by way of Real Explosion. We have another mayoral candidate right here for you, Miss Wendy Bozel. How are you today?
Hi, I'm really good. Thank you for inviting me today.
Yes, ma'am. It's a pleasure to have you here. We have.
Hey, I'm Uncle Wayne. You know it's Be More for Real joining us for our special edition. We told you we're going to bring the mayoral candidates where you really get to know them up in person. So Wendy, tell us a little about yourself. Listen, no rush, no top 5 questions.
No top
We're
5.
gonna really get to know you. Let's pretend that we were at a cookout.
Okay.
Now listen, we're not at what we call that. What
Not the forum. This ain't the forum.
We're at a cookout. Let's get to know. Wendy, first of all, what made you think to run for mayor of Baltimore City?
Well, I'm a Baltimore City teacher, and after my 3rd student was shot and paralyzed,
Oh, wow.
yeah, I decided I need to do more to help Baltimore City, and no one else is looking out for our students, and I decided I need to do that. Actually, God put it on my heart. I was like, what can I do to help these kids? When a student looks you in the eye and says, you failed us, then you have to really take that in and like, yes, we did fail. We got a whole generation of students in Baltimore City. And I'm gonna stop it and make sure that that's why I'm running for mayor.
All right.
All right. Let me ask you something. Do you have children?
I have 3 girls.
Oh, no. What are the ages, may I ask?
Okay, my oldest is 40.
You actually have a child that's 4 years
I have a 40-year-old.
You just don't look at me. I must tell you, but you don't look.
Thank you. And then I have another daughter who is 29,
29.
and one is 23. So 3.
Baltimore.
And
Three daughters.
I raised them myself, single, I'm divorced, so I had to struggle to be able to send them to school. So I would always work 2 jobs. I was an Uber driver so that I could Uber before I went to school, teach kids at school, and then Uber one way home.
Uh-oh. You did the Uber, you really
Yes,
got
I
to
was
feel
the,
Baltimore.
yes, I've seen all of Baltimore.
So you Ubered and you were a teacher?
Yes.
Okay, you did it all at the same time.
Yes, because, when those tuition bills come.
Right.
Okay.
So
Where
you
do I get
went,
the extra
you went to
dollars?
college later in life? Was that what it was?
I meant for my kids, for their tuition bills. But I also went to school later in my life. When I was going through my divorce, I knew I would have to make some more money. So I decided to go back to get my master's at Coppin. Because when you get your master's, you do a great.
You went to Coppin?
Shout out CSU.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We just had homecoming.
Homecoming, it was. Look at Wendy, you ain't went to Coppin.
I went to Coppin at night, and you get out of class till probably 11.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a good story. So I'm going through divorce, I'm going to nice school, but Coppin was such a great university to go to because you felt like a family. Everyone worked together. I had 3 kids and I'm working and I'd be late and everyone would pull together and help me. And that really made a difference for me. So it's really pretty good story. December 31st, 2013, in the morning, I went to the lawyer's office and signed the paper for my divorce. And then that night, I walked across the stage of Coppin and got my degree, my master's. So it's true, when God shuts the door, He opens that window for you.
There we go. Very good.
Awesome. And so what exactly, I know you say God inspired you to be mayor, but what exactly, besides the student being shot, like, what was it like that said, look, let me put in the paperwork so I can go ahead and file for mayor?
Okay, what really motivated me was when I pulled the records, because now I'm up to 6 students that have been shot and paralyzed. We've had 97 students. 6 students shot and paralyzed. 97 students were shot last year, or young adults were shot last year, and 17 of those died. And then I teach the ones that are shot that still need help.
How does that work? Explain a little about.
Well, we have really good trauma centers. We have Johns Hopkins, and then we have University of Maryland. That they repair the kids, get them like somewhat together, and then they go through months of rehab at other hospitals like Candid and Johns Hopkins. So that's where I teach them.
Wow. So, okay, you've been a teacher. This is what we're going to start off at. You've been a teacher.
Yes.
And if you become mayor, what are your plans for the educational system that's already set in place?
That is why I'm running for mayor.
Okay.
Right now, the school system, the mayor says, oh, I can't do anything about the school system. But people don't realize that the mayor has appointed the school board. And the school board is what makes the decisions on what needs to get done. Like our school board CEO is Sandalisa.
Absolutely. Sandalisa, right.
So one of the biggest problems that I'm going to tackle first is 58% of students in Baltimore City are chronically absent. So if they're not going to school, it doesn't matter what kind of school you have. So we have to get the kids back to school. Brandon Scott and Sandalisa came up with a plan this year. All of the teachers were waiting, what's this plan going to be? No, they decided to give a trophy to the school with the best attendance. Now we all know that's not going to work. You have to go to the root causes of why kids aren't going to school. Transportation, some kids don't have uniforms or wash machines to wash their uniforms, so they're afraid to go to school because they get sent home if they have their regular clothes on. We need to stop that. If kids come to school, we're not sending you home just because your uniform isn't on.
I hope not.
No, we have to change those rules. And we have to do things to make kids feel motivated to come to school. I would like to start, and I think it's something that Uncle Wayne is really involved in, is to have internships and also have ways that kids can make money while they're in school. Then we also have to work with the community and businesses. And when I worked at Sinclair Elementary School, I had certificates from McDonald's, we had Little Caesars gave us free pizzas just to motivate kids to go to school. And right now I'm working on a program with the Ravens and the Orioles that if you go to school every day until January, you get a ticket to the Ravens game. And then if you go to school every day to the end of the school year, you get tickets to the Orioles game. So just a little motivation. But what the heart of it is parents need to know the importance of sending their kids to school. So we need to enforce the truancy laws in Maryland. And
What law?
what the law means.
She said the truancy law.
Truancy law.
Can you explain a little about that?
Yeah, truancy law. Truancy is when a child doesn't come to school on a regular basis. So,
After how many days? Like 20 or something?
well, you're truant after 3 days. So we have to let parents know the law. If your child is absent after 3 days, then they have to let the school know. If they don't let the school know and have a valid reason, you get a $50 fine for every day after that your kid does not come to school. On your second offense, you are charged $100 per day. And the third offense, you have to go to trial. And not that I want to fine parents or send them to trial, but I need them to know what the law is, to know how important it is, and how important the state of Maryland thinks that is, that we have a law on the books. that
That's
you
awesome.
have to bring your kids to school.
So what about the kids that, you know, give their parents a hard time, where though they choose themselves not to show up for school, and, you know, that might push back on the parents who really want them to go to school, but they have to go to work, and, you know, the kid is just being defiant. What about that?
Yeah, and I understand that.
99.9%.
Probably, but we have programs in place, Baltimore City School does, and if you call the truancy office, they'll help you. They'll give you solutions to that. And I think if parents are motivated because they know their kid doesn't go to school, they're also gonna get fined and maybe they have to go to jail, that they will work with the truancy office and, you know, show the child how important this is. That you need to go to school.
Right.
Now, let me ask you, now we, as all the candidates, of course, one of the big questions that comes up, police officers in Baltimore City.
Yes.
Now, tell us, what are some of the plans that you have to deal with the Baltimore City Police Department, which we call Baltimore City Police Department? See, I said it right. I didn't give them my name at all. Tell me more about it.
Well,
What would you do?
all right, what I plan to do, it's called problem-oriented policing. So that means police officers are going to get out of their cars. They're going to walk the neighborhood. A new officer will have to go door to door and introduce himself to everyone in his neighborhood so that they get to meet him and know we have a new person on board. Then I'm going to work with all the agencies. I'm talking about housing, food, you know, all the agencies in Baltimore City, and then work with data like where are the crimes happening, who are creating these crimes, and why. And let's look at what the problems are, and we pretty much know what they are. Drug addiction, homelessness, food insecurity, lack of job opportunities, and 58% of students not going to school on a regular basis. So let's address those issues, and some areas of the city might have more or less of different problems that are causing the crime. And let's solve the issues first, provide the social services needed so the crime is not necessary, that we're stopping crime before it starts because we're addressing the issues of crime. I think a lot of police officers now are turning into being social service workers instead of police officers. And I feel like that will solve all the problems. Instead of being reactive, we'll be proactive. Instead of calling 911, we will already have been there and know what the problems are.
Absolutely.
Wendy for Baltimore.
So based on what you just said, is there a crime plan or is there not a crime plan for the city of Baltimore if you were to be elected mayor?
Yeah, we'll have a crime plan, and part of the crime plan, number one, is every morning at 8 o'clock, I'm gonna have the police office, the head of the police chief in my office, and we're gonna say, okay, what are the data? What were the crimes last night, and what are we gonna do to prevent that today? That's the first issue. You have to analyze what the problems are and what are the crimes.
Well, we know one of the problems are homicide.
Right.
And that's a major problem in Baltimore City. You know, it's like
Yes.
300 plus and stuff like that. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, actually, I think the numbers are higher than that. We've had under 300 murders last year, shootings actually, and we had 635 non-fatal shootings. My daughter is a nurse at shock trauma, and she said that we really should have another 200 people that were murdered because she works at the intensive ICU. She barely has these people alive, and their quality of life now is pretty much not much because now they also are paralyzed or can't move or in a vegetative state. But since they didn't die, then they didn't make that rank of the under 300. But really, if we
Think about
looked at it, it would be another 500 people.
it.
I mean, 625 non-fatal shootings is totally unacceptable, and you're right. So we need to address that issue more, but we have to make it like a comprehensive program. First, we have to look at our jails, and so I did the research, who are in the jails right now? Who are?
Right.
There's 60% of the prisoners are from one small area, Sandtown, Winchester. After Freddie Gray, we were supposed to have all this money that was supposed to go into that area, get rid of the vacant homes, make opportunities for people, make sure there is housing, address the issues that cause crime, which is what my whole focus will be.
Well, since you went there, do you have a central focus that you would like to focus on housing or anything like that?
Yes, that's near and dear to my heart, because I have so many students that don't know where they're going to live next, and where they live is deplorable. They're in rental homes, they're paying like $1,800 in rental assistance, maybe $2,500, and these places have rats in them and lead paint. I have many kids that have lead paint poisoning that now are learning disabled because of that, and we need to change that cycle. I'm tired of having rental assistance go to landlords that are out of country or out of state and they're not taking care of their property. So what I want to start is to have a program sort of like Schaefer had. I'm going to have dollar homes, but I'm also going to have a path to ownership for your own rental assistance so that you can purchase one of these dollar homes. We'll help you rehab it, and then instead of giving that money to some landlord, we're going to give it to our people and help them to own a home. And so then is a way that we will really have a place for someone. When a child has a home to go to, then they come home and you feel part of the community. You take care of the place where you live. You clean it up. So, and then what's really amazing is even if we have to help the rental assistance for 30 years, they won't get rental assistance anymore because they'll actually be owning that home. And instead of paying $1,500, $2,500, it'll be a mortgage, which would be like $800, which will save the city a lot of money.
Right.
And we'll make homeowners, and we'll turn around these vacant cities into communities.
That sounds really awesome. A lot of candidates don't think about that.
No,
But, you know, that sounds awesome to think about the housing and the education and how far they go hand in hand. That does sound really awesome.
Yes, kids do better in school when they have a home to live in.
Absolutely. Because you're right, Wendy, because the area that you talked about is the area that I live in, Sandtown, Winchester.
Yeah, so one of the first things I'll do as mayor is I'm gonna have looking at accounting for every department. I'm gonna bring independent accountants in, and let's find out where the money, and why wasn't money spent in Sandtown, Winchester? That was 15 years ago. I don't see any change.
This is still, look, Park Heights, whatever. Listen, they put the money in there, but where did the money
Where did it go?
go?
And if 60% of the prisoners are from Sandtown, Winchester, can I fix the Sandtown, Winchester area and reduce crime by 60%?
But this is one of
That
my,
sounds pretty easy.
this is the big question that boggles my mind.
Okay,
Now, if someone comes in Sandtown, Winchester, and
Right.
let's say they take a gun out and they just shoot the whole area up,
right.
and they get arrested, now, and they go to court,
Yeah.
and they get locked up. Well, the system sends them to jail,
Right,
and the system get the money for them
Right.
going to jail.
right,
Well,
and,
remember,
right,
they shot up our area, but we don't get no money for them going to jail, but the system got them to go to jail. But when they get released, they send them right back to where they shot up the area, but they made the money when they were in jail off of them,
Right.
sent them right back to our area.
well,
And so,
yeah, well, I
we
thought
better fix
hard.
that.
I was hard about that. And what we need to do is actually change the prison system. I looked at, we have big recidivism rate. People coming back and forth, keeping like a big circle going back to prison. I want to stop that. And I looked and did research, and in New Zealand, they had 60% also, and now they're down to 20% recidivism because they treat the prisoners like people. They take away all the bars. They let them wear regular clothes. They give them classes in anger management, interpersonal communication, sort of like a practice on how to live outside of a prison.
Also, they rehab them while they're in there.
Well, actually, the whole system, like they learn, they get a job, I mean, they learn skills, they get their degree.
They basically get acclimated back into society.
But the biggest thing that is the biggest difference is before they leave, they provide housing and a job that makes a livable wage.
And they make it a skill too, right?
They don't come back. And the money they've invested in that now is more invested in the community because now we have productive members of this.
So when they come back to Sandtown, Winchester, they're more productive this time.
Yes.
Instead of bringing them back and allowing them to shoot up the area again. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying, because it makes sense to bring them back or let them be productive.
Right.
Yeah, there we go. Then we can all get it home.
Well, no, it is time to address the elephant in the room. I hope you're not uncomfortable, but you know, racism is a big thing.
Yes.
In law, right? And there's a disproportionate amount of black, we know statistics there and that. But what are your thoughts on, you know, policing statistics as far as, you know, black and white incarceration rates? Is there anything that, you know, you thought about on that level?
Yes. And another data statistic I got from who's in the prison is that most of them have not graduated from college. I mean high school.
Okay.
Definitely not college, but high school. And that's coming from our city schools. So really it comes back to education again, that we have to provide opportunities for our youth now so that they do not have to make a choice of crime.
So some people want to ask, I know you are a teacher, so do you see like the preschool to prison pipeline that people often...
Yes.
And what is that?
And
what is that?
This is what the problem is. So what I've learned when I was working on my master's at Coppin was that the third grade test that they give for reading, if it is poor, like the kids they're not doing well and they get a low percentage of passing, that's how they figure out and budget how much they're going to spend on building future prisons. So that is crazy. So I don't want to do that anymore.
We know.
I want to take the money, and what works is we're going to have 2 teachers in every classroom from kindergarten to 2nd grade. We're going to make sure that every student is reading and is proficient in reading before they get to 3rd grade. I'm going to stop it right there, the prisoner pipeline. So if you can't read by 3rd grade, your chances of being successful are like null. So let's put all the money into kindergarten, 1st grade, and 2nd grade, and having 2 teachers in every classroom. And I don't care, we're putting all resources into that, instead of resources into, what prison are we going to build next?
That was actually awesome. That was awesome. I didn't know if you had a plan or not, but
We like that, Wendy. We like
awesome.
that.
So with
Better schools, not better prisons.
to prison.
Yeah,
With the
right.
preschool to prison pipeline, with you
Right.
being a teacher,
Yes,
and with you trying to stop before you get to the 3rd grade,
right.
you know, how much chance of a future do you think that would give to the younger generation? Do you think that would make a significant difference in the recidivism rates and the incarceration rates and the disproportionate incarceration rates against blacks?
Yes.
Do you think
That is the key. And also, we have to do things to help parents learn how important it is. Because you can tell kids to do things a million times, but the only thing kids are going to do is what they see their parents do or the people around them do. So if we're expecting them to read, to go to school, to do charitable work, to help other people, they need to see you do it as a parent.
Right.
Like, some parents will come, we'll have a little parent-teacher meeting, and they say, my kid doesn't do their homework or they don't read. And I ask them, what was the last book that you read? And they look at me. So you have to read in front of your children, and then they're going to read. They're going to find that education is important. I want to learn. And the one phrase that I always tell all my students is what Frederick Douglass says is, when you learn to read, you are forever free. And there's nobody preventing you from learning how to read. So let's become free.
Absolutely.
Okay, interesting. Okay, but Wendy, this is where school and the educational system disagree.
Okay.
Some people just can't read. Where do
I'm
they
a special ed teacher,
And then,
so that is true,
and
but
it's
there are ways
nothing,
to
and
teach
listen, it is nothing wrong with them. And I say this because they got so many other skills that God has given to them that replaces the skill of reading
Well,
and
I
writing.
think reading-
And school fails them because school continues to tell them because their reading and writing skills is not up to this level, they're not as good as other students, and it fails them. Because watch this, I am an extremely good reader, but I am a horrible writer. And school failed me because they made me think that I am a failure because I can't write as well as others.
Well, that's another issue that I want to change, of how students are actually, I don't want teaching to the test anymore, or writing or anything. In Europe, what they do is, you have a portfolio of your work. And it could be drawings, it could be things you wrote. It's all encompassing. It's not, oh, did you get A, B, and C right on a test? We need to see what kids learn, and if you have a portfolio, it can be shown in other ways, not just in a written form.
And a good teacher, a very good teacher would know that. Because, you spend a lot of time with a teacher all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you learn other skills.
Absolutely.
Imagine it, because when a kid comes to school, they will want to come if they feel wanted.
Right.
Get it?
And we coming up on time, but I want to make sure that we ask you this as well.
Okay.
Because we know schools basically funded off of taxpayer dollars. Baltimore City schools don't, particularly do not have a lot of taxpaying citizens. So city schools, especially in Baltimore, are extremely disproportionate when it comes to.
You about to teach us a lesson, Wendy.
So,
This is what I want, for a big thing that I'm gonna do.
yes, ma'am. Please explain.
She's going to
Well,
teach us a lesson.
when I'm the mayor. $1.7 billion is the budget for Baltimore City schools right now.
Okay.
And this is how they run it. You have 164 principals, and you say, oh, here's your 10 million, here's your 20 million. And they have to come up with a budget and know how to manage 10 to 20 million dollars. And we wonder, where's the money, where'd it go? A principal is not a CFO. I want to bring all that money back, do it centrally, and make sure every school is a good choice, not just ones that are in certain districts or zip codes. And in order to do that, we bring the money centrally, then we have different departments. As a teacher, whenever I ask for supplies, I have to beg a principal, and I'm always told it's not in the budget. Oh, my laptop doesn't work, sorry, not in the budget. No, when I worked in Baltimore County for a while, and I just called the department, and they came, they fixed the item, they gave me my new laptop. I never had to beg a principal for the basic things I needed to teach my students. So we need to bring everything centrally, and then we can make sure all schools are equitable.
Okay. And big elephant in the room. What do you think about reparations?
Well, that's what I was trying to get to by when I was talking about using your rental assistance to purchase the home. Because in a way, you are building generational wealth, because that home will be yours. And that, I think, is a good way to do reparations that way.
And rental assistance?
And then,
Can you explain a little bit more?
well, what I'm saying is, instead of using it for rental assistance, I'm gonna push that you can use that to purchase a home. And then that's like giving reparations to someone, because then they get to own a home. The money.
Explain a little further.
Well, you get a mortgage under my program, and you are able to purchase a home with your rental assistance instead of giving it to a landlord who's money, and you have a horrible place where you're living. This way, instead of giving money to landlords that don't live here or live out of the country, we're giving it to our people, and they're using it to buy a home.
I love how you say our people.
And
Well, I can't say that.
I love it.
we love it. We love it. We love
I
it. We all together.
feel like
We in this together.
That's absolutely.
I like.
We love that.
I don't know. I feel like they're my kids, the ones that have been shot. I don't care what color they are. I just know that
There
I'm
you
with
go.
them every day.
Absolutely, absolutely.
They're-
And we
they're
love
my
you, we
having
love
no
you, we with you on that.
Believe me, love
We
that.
love you, we with you on that.
You know that when
For sure, for sure.
Love that.
And that was just a heavy topic because you know a lot of people talk about reparation. That's a unique idea that I haven't heard of. I'm glad you were able to handle that conversation.
And
You know,
we
a lot
did.
of
That's
people
why we
really
brought
can't
it
handle that
in.
conversation.
Absolutely.
Even black ones. So it's not a racial barrier when they talk
Okay.
about reparation. That's an
And I
extremely
think about
important
that.
topic to talk about on both sides of
Yeah,
the
and
fence.
the reason why people want rental assistance is because we failed them. We didn't give them the education they needed, and we redlined this whole city and took away the possibility of them owning a home.
Okay, so we're here at the end of this segment. What we want you to do is we want to give your mission statement. Tell the city of Baltimore what you want to do for Baltimore. Why they should vote for Wendy Bozel as the mayor of Baltimore in 2024.
Take your time, no rush. This is the time for you to tell everyone what you feel about Baltimore and why you decided to run for Baltimore.
All right, I decided to run for Baltimore when I saw the horrible problems that are here in Baltimore City with our education system. And education and crime go hand in hand. So the first thing that I will do is I will make sure that all schools will be 21st century schools, air conditioning, heat, yeah, so I work at a school with no heat, and all the supplies they need to succeed. And the second thing is we're going to make sure that we have programs in place so that kids want to come to school. Like after school programs, we're going to start the police athletic league again. We had the lowest crime and juveniles when we had the police athletic league, and we had the most youth signing up and going into the police academy when we had the police athletic league. So we'll be making the barriers between the police and the youth will now be broken because they'll be friends, they'll know each other. And it was a great program, so we're gonna do that. Then another problem that affects kids going to school is we have many kids that have asthma because of the poor air that's here in our city because of, I don't know if you're familiar with Bresco, but it incinerates all of our trash and turns it into energy.
Oh, wow.
And it's right in South Baltimore. You see that stack there, and it's continually pushing out pollution that is killing, causing cancer,
Right in our face.
and right in our face. And I'm tired of that. And so my plan to eradicate that is because
1 second, is that those two towers that say Baltimore on it?
Yes.
You see, okay.
yeah, right around 95.
Yep, right on off the highway.
Yeah.
You can see it, say
Well, what
Baltimore.
they
right
do, you know, we don't recycle in Baltimore. It's a fallacy. So what happens is they pick up your recycling and they take it over to get burned over there. It's called Bresco, where the incinerator is, and they're burning our recyclables.
So it's an illusion,
And
basically.
then it's illusion.
Right,
And,
so
and this is what's
Thank you.
happening. We pay for electric that comes from the burning of that. And then right now I'm fighting a bill in Annapolis. They're also getting tax credits because they're calling it green energy because they're burning our trash to make energy. So,
Oh, we gotta redefine green energy.
right. So we're fighting that so that the subsidies that they're getting can now be used to create green energy. And one awesome program that's going to turn Baltimore City around and make our air clean, it's called composting. And they do it in Europe all the time. 60 or almost 90% of the things we throw away are combustible, or not combustible, compostable. So I'm gonna, with that money, I'm gonna make sure everyone has their little compostable container, and then we're going to teach people how to do that. And
That
then,
would go out for the farmers and,
right,
and the growers.
it's called black gold because it's any
It
organic.
cultivates the soil,
right.
the nitrogen.
So we'll
and
make
everything.
money. We'll make money off
I'm
it.
familiar.
And
That's
then
awesome.
I researched there's an EPA grant that Baltimore is available, and can get $4 million to build a plant to compost, and it'll bring in thousands of jobs for Baltimore
That sounds
City.
lovely. It sounds like it
And
can help save our
then, and
planet.
then I want to work to, it'll be zero waste for Baltimore City. We'll be making money off of the composting. We'll be able to breathe better because right now, our kids who have asthma are twice the rate that's across the nation here in Baltimore. Double the rate of kids with asthma, and I'm sure adults too, that have breathing problems.
Yo, we didn't think about that. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for dropping some gems on. We appreciate you. Wendy Bozel, she is mayoral. She's a mayoral candidate on the ballot as well. Make sure you go check her out. She has everything.
Anybody really got to get our candidates.
Be more for real. Brought to you by way of Real Explosion.
Wayne.
I am OMG and we appreciate you, Wendy Bozel. Thank you for coming by.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate you for stopping by. That was awesome. 4, 3, 2.
Okay, welcome to another segment. Be More For Real, brought to you by way of Real Explosion. We have 2 other candidates, one for mayor, one for city council.
3 other candidates, sir. Don't you dare forget the old boy.
I can't forget about Uncle Wayne. I'm going to say I'm the co-host. You know we keep it real. Be More For Real. I'm going to say I'm the co-host.
Hey, I'm on no word.
Mayor.
Hey, welcome, y'all. It's just because it's not Wednesday. That's all. You'll be confused, right?
A little bit. We got
our
6 minutes
special
left.
edition, y'all. I told y'all to look out for our special edition, and this is the special edition. I'm still Uncle Wayne. This Be More For Real. We just coming to you in an explosion way. That
Absolutely.
To be real.
So what we have here today is independent mayoral candidate, Mr.
Chukwuemeka Egwu.
Chukwuemeka Egwu. And we have running for councilman, Mr. Christopher Anderson.
You got it right, Chris Anderson, running for City Council District 7, which is the Penn-North area. Well, that's where I live, but the area really encompasses Hampton and several other areas, but I'm from the Penn-North area.
From the Penn-North area, and that's where you council at as well. We appreciate you guys for coming on. And
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So we start out with our big question. Why do you want to be in charge of Baltimore City?
That's a good question, Uncle Wayne. I want to be in charge of Baltimore City because I believe for the past 20, 30, 40 years, Baltimore has been in the wrong hands. Because we've been voting the same way for about 20, 30, 40 years and we keep finding ourselves in the same spot. Anything you want to do in life, at some point you have to change direction if it's not turning out to be what you want. And for Baltimore City to move on with a different new idea, and we need absolutely an independent man in the office of the mayor to give us independent thoughts as to where we want to go. We failed for 30 years, and if we want to be fair in what we're doing, looking back, talk about crime, we lose young men and women every day in Baltimore City. We can't casually that, oh, we lost 300 people this year, we lost 200 people next year. Do the simple math. In 10 years, that's 3,000 young men and women. 20 years, that's 6,000 men and women. 40 years, that's 12,000 men and women. We're not even counting the kids they would have had. So you're looking at this, we cannot do this casually anymore. It's about time everyone with an idea should jump into the game of electing a viable candidate, someone that can advocate for us. Not just anybody who the media or special interest picks to be there to represent us and they end up just emptying out our neighborhood. Our neighborhood are depressed, not because we're not working hard, not because we want to provide for our neighborhood. That's because our neighborhood is systematically depressed by people who are in office. However you look at it, if it's a tax issue, Baltimore City is sitting on your neck. If it's a trash issue, Baltimore City is sitting on your neck. Any way you look at it, school, Baltimore City is sitting on your neck. It's not that we don't have the funds, we're lacking. It's the people with the right mind and care enough for the people of our neighborhood to work for what we're electing to do and use resources where it belongs. Not for power. Power is not leadership. Power is absolutely not leadership. What is leadership is that you care enough to know right and wrong. You don't need 10,000 degrees to know what's right and wrong. Did you agree?
Oh, wow.
You know that. You don't need 10,000 degrees to know right and wrong. You just need to know right and wrong.
Common sense.
And thank you, my young man.
12 months old, I think you need that by then, right?
Right and wrong, that's all you need to know to be good, effective leadership. Power to do that is conviction to fight for those people who need things done for them and fight the crime as the crime goes along. These are the simple elements that brings up a society where there's peace, we find that there's good leadership. When there's no peace, it's usually bad leadership. Because we read all kind of book, what they say, attitude reflects leadership. Attitude reflects leadership. It hasn't changed. I've worked with that for hundreds of thousands of years. Attitude reflects leadership. When you're a good leader, your people will operate.
Right. So that was awesome, by the way. So tell us a little bit about how you came to run as independent instead of either Republican or Democratic. How did you?
And
How
explain
did you
what
come to
independent
that
is.
decision?
Independent, first and foremost, is again by the Constitution. Again, when I say certain things, I love the American idea. We all should love the American idea. Because if you want to make a fair judgment and assessment, the American idea of leadership, constitutional law is the best way to rule any country on the planet. America is a great country. Part of what makes me sad also when we talk about young men and women living in Baltimore City, you see people, like myself, I think when I was a very young man, but today you see people diving through forests, getting eaten by coyotes, dogs that you can imagine, trying to get to America. And we have young men and women who were born here, raised here, and they're having a hard time to see a dream past tomorrow or today. The fact that they're not seeing this dream is leadership fault. Having said that, one run for mayor is because I came to Baltimore, slightly grown up after living in DC for about 10 years. And Baltimore offered me a fresh start. I love Baltimore. Baltimore has possibilities. But no matter how idealistic you are, no matter how skilled you are, no matter how ambitious you are, Baltimore will check you, very much so. Because in our neighborhood, most of us don't understand what equity means. Equity is what is lacking in our neighborhood. Because with equity, you can invest in your young people, you can invest in your own idea, and you can actually carry your neighborhood forward. That's why when you look at Baltimore, I came to Baltimore fairly young man still, strict direction of where I want to go, let's rebuild our neighborhood. But you find out, no matter how much you put in your neighborhood today, the appraiser will come to tell you that, sorry, you put too much money into your house. Your money was shit. That is horrible.
It's true.
That is intentional devaluation of our neighborhood.
Yes.
And you find out in other neighborhoods you go to, they do the same thing you did, you find they get equity. And let me say one thing that our young men can pick up really when we talk about equity. We have great young men and women with great ideas. Take somebody for Amazon, for instance, Jeff Bezos, right? Amazon. Most people don't know how much he invested in his business. Do you know that? How much he invested?
I don't know.
Uncle Wood, do you know how much he started a business with?
I wouldn't even imagine.
No, I don't know.
He started a business with $10,000 of his own money, like everybody else. He struggled. His parents put $250,000 into that business. How many of us have $250,000 as equity?
That is simply amazing.
That's not a lot of money.
That's a lot of equity.
It's a lot of equity, but it's not a lot of money. Because if you had that in your house, you can support any young man you want to support. But in our neighborhood, I have a lady who lives in my neighborhood, lovely elderly lady. She passed after living in her home for 60 years. The home put in be sold for $30,000. Brownstone, 4 floors.
Wow.
This is what we have to really fight for. We need equity.
Wow.
For us to get a good mayor of Baltimore.
Yeah.
We're not going to ask you this too, but not today. A lot of ways, so we're not going to fight over there. Right. But we have to sit down and figure out how to bring equity back to our neighborhood. That's what I'm running, because I want to bring equity back to our neighborhood.
Absolutely.
It gives us the freedom to invest in our own people.
Absolutely.
If you have your own idea,
This is actually fascinating because what we have here is we have an independent candidate running for mayor. We have a Republican city councilman, Mr. Christopher Anderson, and we have Democratic mayor-elect Uncle Wayne. So we have 3 different backgrounds. So man, this is actually dynamic as it goes.
Because you understand, Baltimore has. We got to get used to picking up these mics. Baltimore really had a lot of different ideas. We are not just of one, we are of so many. But the thing about it, we have to bring all of our ideas to the table at the same time.
Absolutely.
That's the deal.
For people to make a real clear choice.
Yeah. Now, you're up. I'm glad you came to the mic.
Well, I would love
I am the elephant in the room. I would love for you to go there.
The elephant in the room.
I'm running for city council. You're running for
This
mayor.
month I'm trying to do.
The real elephant in the room.
No, he knows. I'll bring the thunder. But I'll go last. You go ahead. You're running for mayor. No, I'm running for city council. You're running for mayor. Go ahead.
Let me tell you how we're doing this. We're bringing all the mayoral candidates up here, and then they'll get a chance to bring who they are. Since you were in there and you're running for the 7th district that I happen to live in, we brought you in. So tell me more about what you plan to do.
All right. Okay.
Being as though your election time is coming soon.
Since you insist. I am a Republican candidate for city. Well, since you asked for this, so you're gonna get it. Listen. I'm a Republican candidate for city council for District 7. I live in the Penn North area, and I must say, what I've heard from Mr. Egwu is very spot on. We have murders that's been going on for years, and we have a population that's been voted Democrat over and over again. Now, no shade to you. You are a grassroots candidate, but we've had the same people that. Still a Democrat.
I still have to take the land.
You have to own it. You have to own it.
I have to.
You have to own it. There's been people dying under the Democratic watch for years, and you talk about, oh, Republicans are sellouts, Republicans are traitors. Guess what? We ain't stepped up. We ain't the ones out here killing you. We ain't the ones on the watch. You're dying on the Democratic watch. You're dying. I'm on this podcast. I'm gonna say it in the name of the Lord. You're dying on the Democratic watch. The people that you call the protect you are not protecting you.
Let's not start a war. Let's not start
Hey,
a war.
you said that. Let's be more for real. You said you asked for
These are facts.
This is for real. These are facts.
On Be More For Real, we speak facts.
So there are people out here that think that, Republican and Democrat are two wings on the same bird. What do you think about that concept? Because a lot of bills that are passed are often bipartisan. So what do you think about that?
I'm glad you said that. You put me on that. See, this is real. Be more for real.
The other side of
The Republican Party is just as responsible, but the Republican Party have not been in power. Okay? It's been Democratic rule for 40 years. City Council has not had a representative from the Republican Party in 40 years. Okay?
Is that a fact?
That's a fact. You can look it up. It's probably wrong. I might be wrong. It's probably longer.
Wow.
Okay? So you haven't had people like me step in. I'm not your average Republican. I'm a Frederick Douglass Republican. Okay, so Frederick Douglass is the one that said, what is a slave to the 4th of July? He said that to the Republicans, and he was in the Republican Party.
There wasn't a free man.
He said it, he knew the difference. And I'm a Frederick Douglass Republican, and I'm with you guys from grassroots candidates. We need different ideas. The same people that's been running, like Brandon Scott has sold us out. Okay, he has sold us out in Baltimore City. I ain't even afraid to say
That's interesting you say that. So what do you mean by he sold the city of Baltimore out? Can you explain that a little bit?
Listen, I can't go no further than the BG deal that he cut. The BG deal he cut was on the ballot before his election, and it said that they should not touch the BGE conduits that was underground that affect our BGE. That's going to raise our bill up. He sold the BGE bill to, he sold our gas and electric to BGE. They have total control over your gas and electric now. You know what that means? That means they can raise your price or lower your price. It's up to them. And what you think they're gonna do? You know it's a white, I'm gonna go there and raise. You know it's a white interest. They're gonna raise the bill, and the bill has already been raised. Your BGE bill is gonna raise. I talked to the mayor about it. I really don't talk to him no more about that. Because when he sold out BGE, that's a definition of sellout. So I don't want nobody to call Republican sellout. This mayor just sold your BGE bill that you get every month. He just sold it to BGE. They have total responsibility, total control over it. They put monitors in your house so they can manage it just how much you use. And they can tax a price on it and make that price very high. That's why I'm running for city council. Somebody need to challenge him on that. He shouldn't have been able to get that. We voted against that. And then all of a sudden now BGE have the total control of your BGE bill? That's not right.
Okay, I see you're very passionate about that. What do you have to say, Mr. Egwu?
Let me add something to that, Chris, if you don't mind, can I lay some correction a little bit?
Of course.
Yeah, the conduit system belongs to Baltimore City. It has no effect on the price of our gas and utility. The conduit system, anybody can use it, like Verizon can use the conduit system. Most of the people that provide services for Baltimore City can use it, but now it's in Seoul.
I'm sorry to interrupt. You said the conduit system?
Yeah, it's on the ground.
Yeah, it's on the ground. It belongs to the city. It didn't belong to BGE.
Okay.
Which one of you one of the very good things that Baltimore owns as a city to own that.
We don't own it no more.
Yeah, we don't own it anymore. It's a good thing for us to own it. So I'm with him. Selling that out is like selling us out, pretty much. I mean, that should never have happened. It gives us power to kind of negotiate with the power companies and utility companies. Sometimes it's good to have leverage, but selling that out is actually selling us out. I agree with you. But again, it doesn't affect how much we get charged for utilities because you're charged per gas. We don't produce gas.
But you know they're going to charge more.
We do get money because they rent our system from us. So we do get rental from those from the conduit system normally, but now that goes to BG as well. So this is how we're selling ourselves out continuously in Baltimore City. And we have to stop doing that. On that point again, let me point out something that's scary. Listen, if you're a fan of history like I am, we never got our 40 acres on the hill, did we? Did you get yours?
I'm sorry, what was that?
We never got 40 acres on the hill. Did you get yours?
No, we didn't get that.
Will you get yours?
Not me.
So reparations is on the table.
Not my
No, we haven't
dad.
got the reparation yet. Wait, guys, we haven't got the reparation.
Let's talk about it.
Hold up. We haven't got the reparation yet.
Okay.
This will really piss you off.
Okay.
We haven't got the reparation yet. What is on the table right now is that the devaluation of Baltimore City. This is where I really say I won't want to run for mayor. All of us should come and understand that the devaluation of our neighborhood and the depression of our neighborhood that's not providing any vision for these young men and women and the hands of the city council and the mayors of Baltimore. We get school year after year. They don't do anything for us. They don't do anything for us. I think our mic is out.
You can use mine temporarily.
Yeah. Hello. Can you hear me? Am I on? Yeah. They don't do anything for these young men and women at all. That's what is happening. Yes, thank you. We're back on. Yeah. What they're proposing right now is the vacant buildings that we have in Baltimore City, about 14 or 16,000 of them. The vacant lot that we have in Baltimore, about 6,000 to 4,000 of them. The city of Baltimore is trying to collectively get all these buildings into a land bank. For heaven's sake, that is not democratic. That's not free market, nor is it free enterprise. They want to get it back, the managed game that our grandfathers and grandchildren, our grandfathers and grandmothers were able to get into their own hands as ownership that they now transfer to their family member, grandchildren, and so forth. They're trying to get that into a land bank that will end up giving to investors to now at their own pace, at their own time. They're going to end up sticking on project for 10, 20 years. So there's no investment or development from the Baltimore for the next 10, 20 years.
That's interesting you say that. And I know Uncle Wayne, you had a lot to say about with the vacant houses in Baltimore City. You said between 14 and 16,000. What were your plans as far as the vacant houses, and how can you make sure and ensure that citizens actually have ownership that they can pass down to their families?
The land bank is an attempted robbery or is an ongoing robbery of the inner city residents of Baltimore City for one thing. The plan I have in place to do that is everything about ownership. Our young men and women, they don't have the sentiment of ownership. They act out based on that. When you give somebody something to maintain that is their own, they have a sense of responsibility, sense of ownership. You don't tear down your own environment when you know you can actually benefit from it. And we have to educate people on how this brings value to their community, to themselves and their generation to come. The vacant building in Baltimore today will give the sense of ownership to most of Baltimore residents if they can transition into personal, individual hand. We can do this. Let me tell you also why I know for a fact that the city is the one depressing our neighborhood. I've lived in Baltimore for about 20 years. I do construction very well when I came to Baltimore. I came a little late for the flipping that we were doing back then in early 2000. I got into it. I did my house. I loved my house on Drewville. I moved into it. I did the one across the street, I moved into it. And then I was on my third project when we had, I was on my third project when we had a recession. So you understand what's going on here. I've lived in Malibu for almost 20 years now. I lost a few properties to the bank, understandable. I mean, that's how money works. But my house that I love so much, I've lived there for 20 years. I've tried to get people back to my neighborhood for so long. I'm sandwiched between two abandoned buildings. I'm trying to get this building fixed myself. I went to the city several times, I've taken them to court, I went to them, let me fix the building myself. You know what I was told? By a Baltimore City housing lawyer. They are more interested in totally abandoned blocks. That's their priority.
They want you out.
They want me out.
They want you
They
out.
want you out. So they're more interested in totally abandoned blocks.
Sell out.
I'm there, I'm living there, right? I'm not going anywhere. But I'm having a problem with these cats living in the abandoned building next door. I mean, they throw things around every night. I think they have the ghost, but really.
They got more vested interest in abandoned houses than having them live in a home.
Because it's easier to knock it all down. It's easier to knock it all down. That's the purpose.
No, it's easier to
rebuild it.
On rental basis.
We got a homeless problem in Baltimore City. They don't want people to have homes. And they're gonna make that commercial.
They don't want homeless people there. Get it? Their mindset. They don't want homeless people there. And realize our roots of our grandparents and ancestors are there. But we don't stand up and fight because watch this. If black men stood up and fight for what was ours, they wouldn't be able to take it. But where are we?
I will say this: people in the city of Baltimore are concerned because Baltimore is over 80% investor owned, which means that most of the people do not own their homes in Baltimore City. How would providing these people with mortgages be beneficial to the city and you guys' eyes? And I'm gonna start with you, Mr. Anderson. From the United.
Stand down, Mr. Egwu. He got a lot to say. I've been hanging with him for a minute. This independent candidate has a lot to say. But Mr. Wayne, I'm impressed with Mr. Wayne. He told Sheila Dixon, look, you part of the problem. You know, we don't need the same old people in that office. I'm sorry, we don't need Brandon Scott. Brandon Scott got to go. But I'm gonna answer your question. It would benefit. Come on now, we've been asking for home ownership as black people for the longest time, and they've been keeping us on out. They trying to get this man out of his own damn house. He owns it. Are they offering you a buyout?
No, I own my house. They're never gonna get my house. I can hold them to hell. That's a lot of the case.
Right. So they didn't offer you a buyout.
No, they didn't get my house.
They want the whole block abandoned, and he's the only owner on the block, and they're gonna railroad him and take him out of the house, make him homeless.
Please, don't get it straight. You're right, you're almost on the point, but get it straight. The point I'm making clearly here is that we have to learn to fight for what we want.
Yes. That's why I'm in this race. I'm the little guy. I'm the city council. We got to learn how to fight. We need somebody in the city council to fight the mayor.
They tried to kick me out of my house, but they cannot do that because I put $250,000 into my house. Baltimore City has sold my house once on tax sale during the recession of 2010 for $540. The good thing is today they cannot sell your house on tax sale, taxes anymore. That's what I got about because I gave them help. So they stopped selling your house on tax sale, what I bill now. The issue I'm trying to declare is they will not even let you take property in your own neighborhood and bring it up to value. That's what I'm saying. They don't want to do that because they want you to stay
special interest pockets.
They want you to stay there, get tired, get miserable, and pack out.
And get you out. You gotta pack your bags and you gotta leave.
And think about all the ones they did take those homes that they have taken.
Let me answer the question. Let me answer the question. Listen, as city council president, my idea is if we got 3,000 homeless people on the street, and those houses, like he did with his house, this is why, listen, he took a house and he made it a home. You know how many people can actually do that? But the city wants to sell that property to Johns Hopkins. Johns Hopkins is a very area that we need to look at. Johns Hopkins, they took the property and they gave it to Johns Hopkins. They moved so many people out of their homes.
Which is where I was going. You know, Johns Hopkins, they buy a lot of properties over east and University of Maryland. They buy a lot of properties over west. They, you have people that say that they move the people out.
Thank you. They move black people out.
And doing stuff like that. How is your plan different from, how can your plan derail Johns Hopkins, who doesn't pay city taxes, University of Maryland, they haven't paid taxes to the city in forever. How is your plan to hold them accountable and stop them from buying up all the properties and forcing us out into the counties and stuff like that?
Well, first of all, we ain't gonna be forced out into the counties. We're gonna be forced into the streets. That's number one. Number two, the dollar program that city council president is we need to
houses for dollars.
Yes, we need to buy those properties up for ourselves.
Come on,
no. If I can get one of those houses for $1, maybe I can get a whole block. I can get a whole block.
Hold on.
I can get a whole block to myself.
Wait, 1 second.
Listen, we gotta put this thing in. It's like in a very.
And it's not that simple.
The problem here is that Baltimore leadership, city council, do not have the interest of the Baltimoreans at heart. Everything they're doing is to increase the rental number of Baltimoreans than anything else. I came to Baltimore because of the dollar houses. I didn't get one.
That's what I'm
See what I'm telling you right now?
I'll make sure I'll get one.
No, listen to me.
$10.
Let's understand the game right now.
Are you saying it's not for us?
It's not for you.
He
In
said
other words, it's not for us.
Unless you're
Listen to
unless
the
you're
word.
connected.
It's a
Unless
game.
Unless you're connected, it's not for you because
Gang.
So it's not for the average resident.
unless you're connected.
Okay.
Okay,
That's what I said.
because people that buy these dollar houses are neighbor to one right now. He hasn't fixed his house. Since I've been working for 2 years, that house still sitting there vacant. Most people that buy these dollar houses are speculators. They buy them, sit on them, and they hope that tomorrow the value will go up, they sell them for a windfall. That's the problem we're having. I came to Baltimore with cash to do dollar house and moved to my house. Every property I touched, Baltimore City made it impossible for me to get. So I went and just bought my house and did what I had to do. But what we're practicing in Baltimore is policy-based economy. Which all the tricky cats go lobby the city councilmen and lobby the mayor and do what they're doing right now. They're trying to do the land bank. The land bank is a big. The land bank, yeah. The land bank is a big problem because that's them putting the land that you own free and clear in the hands of the government. That has not worked with dollar housing because the dollar housing only go to who they want it to go to. That's unconstitutional. That's not what we're trying to do in Baltimore. That's un-American. And to really make this work, we also have to advocate for better paying job for the residents of Baltimore City. I know Mr. Christopher here, I really want to pick on Mayor Brandon's card. And I too, one of my issues with Mayor Brandon's card is that he advertised a job in 2021 for office assistant. And you find out they were trying to pay the office assistant in the mayor's office $15 an hour.
Oh, wow.
That's the highest office in the city of Baltimore. They're trying to pay someone $15 an hour. So where else are this is going to aspire to? When you work in mayor office, you should pay the same wage.
So Brandon Scott came up with paying the assistant $15 an hour?
Yeah, that's
Or he approved of it? It was under his regime?
He's in his office.
It could be way
He
more
can
than
do
that.
it down. He can do it down. First thing I would do as mayor of Baltimore, because we do have to bring value to our neighborhood, especially for people who are trying to work in Baltimore and stay in Baltimore, I would raise the entry level of Baltimore residents that work for the city of Baltimore to the same amount that same job is paying in the county.
So while we're on it as well, you know they have the Harbor East, and they plan on putting those, like apartments and stuff like that for high income. So I assume that each of you guys that sit here before us today are against that plan. Would that be correct?
Yes.
I'm against it.
Being against it.
What about you, Uncle Wayne?
I try to hold back. Hold back. I can use this boy's mic up. I try to hold back to let the other mayoral candidates get this out for your time. But I gotta throw this in there. I would love for that to be built, but let it be built by the trade schools and the students.
Well, who's gonna live in them?
But watch this.
Who's gonna live in them? I'm not gonna live in them.
Watch this. Let us build it for a change. See, it has to be a collaboration for real.
This is when we say them Democrats again.
It's
Democrats.
Them Democrats again.
So Uncle Wayne, you're saying let the trade people from inside the community, so that way the contract, the money is not going outside the city.
Well, who's gonna live in them?
Hold on,
Who's gonna pay the rent?
What say you? 1 second. What say you? Mr. Ewu, what say you?
we gotta start
We're
bridging.
going to prove Uncle Wayne now.
We gotta start.
We're going to prove Uncle Wayne now.
Let me
Let me finish, okay? Uncle Wayne, come on.
We gotta bring that money in for real.
Listen to me, Uncle Wayne.
They gonna build it anyway.
No, they're building Port.
No, they're not.
Listen to me. They're building Port Covington right now. If every week you sneak out of town and come back, $1 billion has gone up.
Yup.
How many jobs went to the city?
And nothing.
Okay, so why?
Why look at the promise that they made?
Well, so what are you advocating for right now again? To do something again? They're not going
This
to
is
do
what
it.
I'm saying. They can't build it unless we build
You
it.
cannot
Not
afford to do
promises
that.
where the money gonna go. Watch this. Not promise where the money gonna go. We have to
At
build
least he's
it.
honest.
See? It can't be built unless we build it. Stop listening to the promise of the money. It can't be built unless we, the school, build it.
Okay.
Please.
And Dr. Steve, Mr. Anthony, what did you have to say as
Look,
well?
I'm gonna get, he got a lot to say. This man helped us.
We'll come right back to you.
With all due respect to you, sir, Democratic policy, his heart is in the right place, we can build it, but who's gonna live in it? We're not gonna live in it. Then the area I was at the community meeting for the Harvard East program, and they're trying to do like Harvard East. Those apartments are gonna go to rich white people, okay? And with that, hold on, let's listen to it. And with that, who do you think they're gonna get out the area for the crime? I asked that question in the meeting. I said, what about the crime? That's heavy policing. They don't want no blacks down there acting. You know how black people down there acting up? You're not gonna be down there acting up in that area.
There are already places the law downtown where, you get more time for doing crime downtown than you will.
Thank you. So who's gonna catch the rest for what you're saying? Who's gonna catch the rest? The very builders that's gonna build those buildings are gonna be the people that are gonna be under arrest that go down there just to see it. They're gonna be put under arrest. They're gonna be put in jail, and that's gonna be black people in jail, and they're not gonna want you down there. The rent down there is at least $1,500 to $2,000. Nobody black can afford that in Baltimore. Well, they can afford it, but it's not going to be a great deal.
I love your passion, but we run out of time.
Right.
Let me see who get it.
Right. And it's got to be about y'all, not about me. Remember, I didn't even want to put the
Okay, we're back. Be more for real. Brought to you by way of Real Explosion. We were talking about the Harvard East and things like that. Uncle Wayne, I'm pretty sure you had something to say. Let's go to you real quick.
And remember, this is our special on our mayoral candidates. Now, once again, you look at this camera and you tell Baltimore why you should be mayor of our great city of Baltimore.
Talk about that Harvard East.
I love my Baltimore city. Trust me, I love my people in Baltimore. Why I should be mayor of Baltimore, I believe you, Uncle Wayne. I'm about the only one who can bring equity to Baltimore City. The only one that can bring equity to Baltimore City. And when I say this word equity, Uncle Wayne, forgive me, very few candidates that are running right now can actually tell you what equity is and how to get it back to Baltimore. That's the big white elephant in the room that we have to discuss. Equity. If we have equity, our neighborhoods will be so much better. If we have equity, our young men and women will actually have means to their dreams. Without money, you are nothing in America. Without money, your dreams get stuck with you. We can't even fund any of the dreams for our young men and women because our neighborhood are being robbed of equity by the intent of the city and partly also by the state. It's a long story. But come back to Howard East because I'm very special about that. We're talking about building apartments where it's supposed to be a public harbor for everybody else. This is because the people that are supposed to be criminals are not being charged with a crime. We have small-minded investors and small-minded leadership that think that giving the money just to the big cats to build apartments, that's how you develop a neighborhood. No, we need jobs. Good paying job for the community. That's also how you build equity. Because when you try to build apartments, Chris asked a question here, who's going to live in it? That is so true. But also what we don't know is that most of these fancy apartments built downtown are more than 80% empty. They're more than 80% empty.
Is that a fact?
It's a fact, yes.
More than 80% empty.
Some of them, I mean, people get 3 months free rent just to move into one of them. I met somebody.
That was not a part of it.
That's white people from out of town.
It's not doing white and black at all because the thing is, these people are just using the fact that we have leadership that has no clue for the interest of their own constituents or citizens they serve to hoard valuable properties for the future. They can hand this building down over and over again. It doesn't benefit any person on the streets. That is a poor investment. All you can offer is an apartment. We need jobs as well. Are they putting jobs?
Absolutely. And we appreciate you guys for stopping by.
Once again, before you go, you're going to have to say your name and how to get in contact with you because we want to make sure you get it right for them.
Right.
Thank you. My name is Chukwuemeka Egwu. I'm running as an independent mayor for Baltimore City. You can get in contact with me. You can reach me at my email address, egwuformayor at BG, please. egwuformayor 2024 at gmail.com. My cell phone is always open to anybody. You can text me anytime you want. 410-422-3744. If I get that wrong, forgive me, it's a new cell phone, but the other number you can reach me at is 202-423-7927. 423-7927, call or text.
Yep, and we appreciate that. And Mr. Anderson as well, give me your information, let us know about your campaign as well.
Chris Vance, thank you for having me on for that.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it. Uncle Wayne, Uncle Wayne.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Man, you keep bringing that foot to the. I'm a Republican candidate. You need a Republican candidate because you've been voting the same way for so long, and as you heard on here, some of the things you're voting for just ain't in your best interest, okay? You need somebody different. I'm somebody different. I'm the elephant in the room. I can be reached, my phone number, I ain't putting my phone number out there, too many calls as it is now. My email address is 2020chrisanderson@gmail.com. That's 2020chrisanderson@gmail.com. My website is tinyurl.com/electchris. That's TINYURL.com/electchris. I'm your best. I'm not the only candidate, and I'm a Republican. I'm not the only candidate running for city council right now in your city that's an alternative. I will check. Look, your BGL is sold out. Don't call us sellouts. Your BGL, and you sold it out. Your Democrats sold your BGL. Your BGL bill is going. I would have challenged the mayor on that, and I would have did it publicly on TV. You can't do that. I pay a BGE bill. That BGE bill goes to everybody in Baltimore. You see how many people fought that BGE bill? I'm your best candidate for a city council that will fight for you and the citizens of Baltimore.
Appreciate you, Mr. Anderson. And this will be more for real production brought to you by way of Real Explosion. Make sure y'all stay tuned, like, share, subscribe. I'm your co-host, Danny.
I'm Uncle Wayne for Be More For Real.
Catch you next time.
Peace. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks for coming, sir.
He said, bring the thunder, bring the thunder.
You definitely did.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
Be More For Real, back with you again by way of Real Explosion. We have another mayor candidate, Mr. Wendell Freeman. How are you today?
Absolutely.
Uncle Wayne, how are you as well?
That's this. Uncle Wayne here. This is Be More For Real with another mayoral candidate. But guess what? Get ready for this one, y'all.
The young phenom. Y'all know we're going to have a conversation. This is not
Yes.
the news. This is Be More For Real.
Yes.
So, we're going to bring y'all the real. We're here to have a conversation. We're not here to have an interview. We're here to see exactly what you got to plan for the city. We're here to fill your character out. Let the people know a little bit about yourself and how you started.
Well, first of all, I appreciate y'all for having me on y'all show. It's a real nice setup you got here.
Appreciate you for coming.
But my name is Wendell Freeman. I'm born and raised from the east side of Baltimore. Grew up on Greenmount 35th Street. So I'm a product of Baltimore City, literally. I've been through everything. I graduated from city schools. I lost my best friend at 13 and 14 years old to gun violence. Seeing my mom struggle, seeing my dad struggle, not see the quality of life grow in the city. And I've never seen a mayor in my lifetime do what they say they want to do when they get elected. We still have bigger houses. We still have mental health crisis. We still have, suicide, people still killing themselves. We still got, young people with no source of direction. That's an issue. So, I'm not no politician. I don't care about politics. I care more about, what do the people want? The people want safer communities. They want better education. They want people to, know that if you do a crime, you're going to do the time, right? They want their kids to live to see 25 to 50 years old. Our children aren't living. As a father of 2 children, I have a 1-year-old daughter and a 7-year-old son who goes to city school. So education is important to me. We're going to get into that, right? But education is important to me because I know that if the education system was better, when a lot of my friends were coming up, they would still be here today. So, that's just a little bit more about, me.
Absolutely. And you're running for the Democratic Party, correct?
Yeah, I'm running for mayor.
Democratic Party. Tell us what it was like for you to, start filing the paperwork. What was it like dealing with your family and friends, letting them know what was going through your mind at the moment where you knew you was going to run for mayor?
Oh, I had this vision for a long time. Since about 2015, 2016, when the Freddie Gray situation happened in the city of Baltimore. I prayed to God then, and God came to me and said, I want you for public office. At that time, I was a young person, so I couldn't run. And that's one thing I would change. I believe you have the ability, you want to have the passion of want to make change in the city. If you're 18, you should be able to run for public office. But at that time, I wasn't able to run. So I had to wait, for my time, and my time was now. at the end of the day. And when I did it, when I talked to my family, because I wasn't born with my mom and dad, I was born with legal guardians. And my mom that raised me, she's not here anymore, rest in peace to her. But when I talked to my pastor, when I talked to him, and I said, listen, God been telling me this. This is not nothing I wanted to do. I'm 29 years old. I agreed on a lot of things with my life. But God said, this is what you're called, and this is what I want you to do. And when I talked to my pastor, he said, if God is telling you to do it, and he told me, he said, God sometimes gives you the vision, not the experience. And when he told me that right there clicked the ball in my head, said, you know what, I'm going to do it, right? So that's what my thought process when I ran for office. I was like, I don't care about the politics. I'm not a politician. I never ran public office before. I don't care about that. It's time to put the people first. When we put the people first, we stop crime. We stop poverty. We stop all these things when we invest into the people. Right now, we stop all these record-breaking investments we're doing, but we still got schools with no heat and no air. We still have schools with no resources, and teachers still have to come in their pocket. How are we one of the most funded in education, but our teachers still have to fund their own everyday school? That's an issue. So when we do these things and we make the investments in our school system, we're going to make sure that our kids can read, write, and basic things.
Absolutely. First of all, I love your passion and your tenacity and your vivacious attitude about coming about the mayoral office. I will say that stands out above a lot of things. But so since you mentioned the schools and the education and stuff, what was your plan in changing that? And you said you had children in Baltimore City schools as well. So tell us a little bit about plans and stuff like that you have for education.
Well, my education plan, first and foremost, we got to get rid of the CEO of city schools. I'm going to ask for a resignation.
Santa Lisa?
He's not Santa Lisa.
She came up a couple times.
And if she doesn't want to resign, it's okay. I'll work the school with her to get her out, because the reason why is this. I don't know her personally, so this isn't a personal pick. But when we look at the numbers, she's been a school superintendent for the past 6 years. When we look at, if this was any other job, if I worked at McDonald's, right, and I wouldn't flip burgers correctly, they'd fire me. If I was the head coach of the basketball team and I wasn't, doing what I had to do as a coach, they would let me go. It's the same. Exactly. It's the same thing here. Our kids can't read, they can't write, they can't do basic math. We have 12 seniors reading at an 8th grade level. We have people at 8th grade reading at a 4th grade level. That's an issue. But instead of putting more money into the schools, we got to get rid of the CEO. That's my first obligation, to get rid of her and replace it with somebody that's going to do the job effective and efficient. But also that we got to update our education curriculum. We got to get it to the 21st century. We got to bring trade into school. All right, every school under the Freeman administration will have mental health and social workers in school. Why? Because our kids need these things. Our kids go home to crazy conditions. We wonder why our kids are acting out, because they don't have nobody to talk to. When I was growing up, I didn't have my mom and dad, but you know what I had? I had a mentor that would come to my school, check on me, make sure I was okay. I had teachers that made sure that, I'm going to make sure you stay on the right track. So that's what our kids need, because I can't control the house you come from, but I can control the education and control what type of citizen you can be, right? So that's my whole thing. We need more civilians and less criminals, but it starts with the education system. Giving our kids trade into school, giving them financial literature, driver's ed, giving them all these things, giving them a head start in life so they won't make the same mistakes I made growing up. I didn't know it was important to have a license until a grown man, but if I knew that as a kid, I would have that certain things I went through in my life. So changing the curriculum is definitely important to me. It's out of date. Really investing into our schools. I was reading an article recently where our schools aren't getting funded correctly. We had to, they got roaches and mice and, stuff like that. We got to really put investment into that, because why our kids going to school, and first of all, we're not safe. That's the first thing. We got to secure our kids' safety. And we are doing that. I'm sorry, I know a lot of people like their opinion, but we need armed officers at the end of the day. Because
that's where I was going.
Yeah, we need armed officers, because why should they have a gun in a lockbox? If it's a mass shooter comes to school or somebody comes in there with a weapon, how are they gonna have time to get to that? But if they prepared already, they trained for these things.
Oh yeah, by the way, because that's that Senate Bill 819 that he's talking about. You all need to be aware of that bill.
Senate Bill 819, armed resource officers in the schools.
Yeah, we need that.
You are pro armed officers in the schools.
Absolutely. We got too many kids dying in schools. We got too many kids bringing weapons to schools. Our teachers and our students are at risk every single day. We had to do this thing to protect our kids. We can't expect kids to come to school. We can't protect them. So we got to protect them first and then update the curriculum to make them want to come back to school. Once we update that and give them the skills to be entrepreneurs, because everybody not going to go to college. I didn't go to college. I'm like CEO of ABM Marketing Group. I didn't go to college, but I had business experience. I know how to manage money, right? I know how to manage people, right? That's what we need as the next mayor. We need somebody who's not in the city pool, who hasn't been in city hall, who's been in the city, who knows what's going on to get us in the right direction. That's me.
Awesome. So answer me this, what made you choose to be Democratic over Independent or Republican? What made you go that route?
To be honest, I don't really care about none of it, but I know Democrat is the best. Our city is Democratic. When you look at our city is 65% Democrat, right? So that's the best way for me to get into office, right, is to be a Democrat. But if it was for me, I would be nothing because I don't really care about the party. But
It's a shame we got to wear our hand from our big brothers. You know what I mean?
Right.
Same thing. I know I'm 61. I got to still wear the hand me down from my family.
Right.
We Democrats. There's nowhere we can go.
Right.
It makes no sense.
Right.
But listen, talking about pulling together, we have to pull together because when we get in there, we need to examine that Democratic situation. You know?
Absolutely.
But forget Democrat, Republican, or Independent. We need to make a change.
Absolutely.
You know, it's the individual, not the party.
Absolutely. So with that being said, you know, a lot of mayors, they always campaign on their crime plans and what they have for the city as far as crime. Do you have any plans on crime and how to fight crime and stuff like that? What are your plans?
Well, my plan is to end crime, you gotta end poverty. And that's my plan, is to end poverty in Baltimore City. All my life, I've seen the same things. Vacant houses, crime, lack of jobs, lack of opportunity. If we create the jobs for the people, and what I mean by that is when I get elected mayor this year, part of my plan is
to win. There you go.
Part of my plan is to build an office in the mayor's office to basically for the people that have a felony, we want to create an opportunity for them. I don't want to say job because we say job. People think, well, we're in McDonald's or we're in Burger King or we're in Walmart. No, what I mean is we have over 14,000 vacant houses, right? We have closed businesses here, right? We can build HVAC, electrician, like you said this, HVAC, electrician, plumbing. We can create these programs so that way, because the issue is when I talk to people in Baltimore, they say, I don't want to do these things, but I have no choice. Well, so now we give you the opportunity to make sure that you can have a six-figure salary and take care of your family, and you do that in less than 2 years. That sounds more realistic than
Sounds a little better,
that sounds a little better, right? Than me having to go out there and keep the rest of my freedom and keep the rest of my life. But we got to create that. So part of my crime plan is to create that in the office so that before you get released, we're going to have somebody come to you and say, hey man, what are you scared at? Hey lady, what are you scared at? Oh, you're not scared of anything? Okay, we got this going on. Pick this. And when you come home, we have this set up for you. Now, for some people, they got their mind made up. You want to be a criminal, you can be held accountable. I'm sorry, I don't negotiate with criminals. You want to do a crime, you're going to do the time. But the people who want the help and that need it, we got you. And we're going to really do it the right way. That's getting you from, so when you come home, you're thinking like, oh, I have an opportunity to take care of my kids. 800 black men are incarcerated right now. So where are the fathers in the homes? That's why our children act now, because our fathers aren't there. We got to bring our fathers home and keep them there, by giving them the opportunity to change their life.
Absolutely, that was wonderfully and well said. Also, I see you have your merch and everything. Mayor, like it looks good.
Yeah, we got these for sale too.
All right, let people know where they can buy them and stuff like that.
Our website is wendellfreeman.com. I'm on Instagram. I have 2 Instagrams, Freeman for Baltimore and Wendell Freeman for Baltimore. I'm also on Facebook at wendellfreeman.com. We also look for volunteers, man, to spread the message. So, anybody that want to volunteer, you can just go onto my website, sign up, and somebody from my team will reach out to you.
Absolutely, that's awesome. So now back to the crime plan and stuff like that. The police. We have the Baltimore City Police, the infamous Baltimore City Police. We have the chief of police and the staff. Do you have any plans as far as policing within the city, in the city, downtown, or wherever you are in the city?
Well, first thing is this: when I'm elected mayor, I'm getting rid of Wendy Bozel. That's just my personal opinion. And the reason why, again, the same with the CEO of city schools, it's not a personal opinion, but when you look at, and the thing for me was what happened in Brooklyn, when those 30 people got shot. It's no way that we know that this event goes on every single year. So it's going on longer than I've been dreaming in Baltimore. For you guys to say we were unprepared and say that I'm sorry that 28 people got shot and 2 innocent children lost their life, that's an issue for me. So Wooley would have to go, but also the police are not doing their job. So when you look at the police, they're always in their cars. They're always just riding around. Like every time, it bothers me when I walk somewhere and I see 3 or 4 cops just sitting in a parking lot doing nothing. And my whole thing is people out here getting robbed and shot and killed right now, but you sitting up here wasting taxpayer dollars doing nothing. Part of my administration will be 70% you're out the car. 30% in, patrolling, but 70% out of the car. Because at the end of the day, how can you stop crime when people don't know you? That makes no sense to me. But we talk about this no snitching mentality. Why would I go to the police if I don't even know who you are? That doesn't make no sense to me.
That's interesting.
So we need public safety officers. Police aren't enough.
What did you call them again?
Public safety officers. We need public safety officers in community.
And these are civilians, the public safety officers?
They are trained to, not solve crime, but like violent intervention, right? So basically public safety, because that's one of our biggest issues. We need them in each community in the city of Baltimore. Plus the cops, because the cops are gone good enough. These people will know their neighbors, they're gonna know the neighborhoods, people wanna know who they are, so that way, when stuff happens, we know what's going on. Part of my crime plan also as well is to create lighting all around the city and get, if we have a program where we're gonna get cameras to the residents. Because that way, and it's patrolled by DPD, so that way we see what's going on. Because think about this, if you see lights all over the place and every resident has a camera, you're gonna be less likely to think about doing a crime in that neighborhood because you know what? They're gonna see me. And you're gonna know me as Wendell Freeman, I'm not playing. If you do the crime, you're gonna do the time. So if we catch you and we do it, you're gonna be held accountable for your action. And you're gonna do the time. Okay? Even if I gotta go to the courtroom and do it, right? And the difference between me and any other candidate is that when crime is happening, I'm gonna be outside. I'm from East Baltimore. In 11 and 12, 1, 2 o'clock, I'm gonna be in my car in the worst neighborhoods. You might not know it's me, but I'm gonna be there. And I'm gonna be holding people accountable. When you see yourself getting arrested and you're like, damn, it's 4 in the morning, I know you was out here, you gonna know that's me. Because I'm tired of what's going on in the city. We gotta get crime under control.
I get you. I understand,
That's awesome. But what about the people that know about the disproportionate arrest between black citizens in America? Black men are incarcerated at 3 to 4 times the rate of white and other race counterparts. So do you think about that in your judgment with dealing with criminals?
I mean, absolutely, and that's why I say that we're going to give you the opportunity, because our black and brown people we don't really get invested into the right way. So if we invest into us the right way, right, into the food market, into the food deserts, investing into our schools, investing into job opportunities the right way, if we're doing these things, you're less likely to be crime.
Oh, sorry about that.
You're less likely you're less likely to do crime.
Right.
So if we're investing into our people the right way,
The mic's off. 1 second.
there we
go.
If we invest into our people the right way, and you're less likely to be crime, and if we invest into our education, you're less likely to be crime. But for those people, and this ain't a race, black, brown, white, Asian, Mexican. If you want to do the crime, I'm sorry, we gotta hold you accountable. And it's not really about, race to me. It's about what's right.
Doing what's right and wrong. We understand that,
Yeah. But doing what's right and wrong.
Yeah. So, real quick, what does it look like your first day? If you were elected, wake up, bang! Wendell Freeman, now mayor of Baltimore City. What are you gonna do your first day?
Fire Dr. Santa Lisa, fire Bishop Worley, also stop safe streets, really look into all these programs that have no track record of success.
Why are you gonna stop Safe Streets? I just wanna throw that out there. A lot of people have something to say about Safe Streets. Tell me a little why.
Well, the reason why I'm going to stop Safe Streets because, again, every opinion that I'm making is not personal. It's more of when looking at the facts, looking at the data. We are giving this program millions of dollars a year, and there's no proven track record of success. These people aren't trained to stop anything. I think last year they just got $5 million to get trained on how to stop violent exhibition. But I thought that was something that was, that's the whole reason. the whole Safe Streets program was for them to already have these training already.
Well, while you on that, you know, Sixth Street did have an audit, they had a raid, you know, and the president of Sixth Streets, he was arrested on misappropriation of funds. There have been several officers that have been arrested for the same, you know, the fraud and overtime. How do you plan on getting rid of those things that happen in the city? Because there are government corruptions that happen inside the government and inside the city of Baltimore. So what are your plans on that? Do you have plans on that?
Yes, corruption is one of my top priorities. We got to end corruption. And part of that is doing a clean sweep of every department in the city of Baltimore and the city government. Because I want to talk about, so real quick, when I was 14 years old, I got into a street fight one time. And the police got caught. And it was over a girl, obviously. And the police got caught. When the police there, the white cop was there. I was in front of 7-Eleven on the Alameda. And the police got caught, and this is what the white cop told me. He said, you look in front of 7-Eleven, because if you wasn't, I was going to pull your brakes down. So right there at 14 years old, I knew that, you know, police wasn't there to protect the service. On top of that, you know, every cop isn't a good cop. Now, I'm not saying every cop isn't good, but a lot of bad apples fall the tree. So once you have that one bad cop, it makes it look bad for everybody. So part of doing that is doing a clean sweep at every department. You know, anybody that has allegations of doing anything to black and brown people or anybody in general, we have to get rid of you, right? We have to get rid of people who are not for the citizens. A lot of people working in city government are not for the people. They're there to collect a check. We got to get rid of those people and really do an investigation. So part of my plan is doing a clean sweep at every department and putting the right people in place that's really going to put our city in the right direction.
Absolutely. So we was a part of a few forums you were a part of, and you also mentioned doing the audit of the city. So tell us a little bit about the audits that you had for the city.
My plan is to do an audit of the last 50 years. And it's funny that another candidate took credit for that, even though I was the first candidate to ask for an audit.
Right, we be more for real. We're going to make sure we put that out there.
Yeah, I want to be clear about that. I was the first candidate to ask for an audit, but we're going to do an audit for the past 50 years. And
why 50 years?
Because that's how much disinvestment that has been going on in the city of Baltimore. For the past 50 years, we're going to do an audit of the spending of the city, and anybody's held accountable. I don't care if you're 70 years old now. If you're caught doing any type of corruption, any type of fraud toward the citizens of Baltimore, you're going to jail.
Wow.
It's just what it is. We're going to press charges because you're taking away from the hard-paying citizens who go out here and pay taxes every single day and don't know where the tax money is going. So we're going to find a way to go to that. And anybody who's found of any fraudulent activity will be held accountable.
That is amazing, and that's different. What are the steps that you might need to take in order to get a city audit? Would you need an independent contractor? Would you need like an independent third party outside of the city to source that type of information?
Yeah, well, it's two ways to go. We get Bill Henry, who is the comptroller for the city. You know, I could just go ahead and tell them we need an audit done, or we can do the outside part. Yeah, but on that first day, yeah, I'm going to call him in on the first day, but we're not just going to just use him. We're going to also hire the outside person to come in to dig into that, because I don't even, no disrespect, I don't trust him, because you've been in the city government for years too. So now we need somebody on top of you to make sure you're doing what you're supposed to do.
Wow, that's very honorable, and that's very different. So with that being said, with all the government corruption, how would you think that you will persuade the votes of your counterparts and things of that nature, especially policemen that live in the city, councilmen, you know what I'm saying, because maybe they are part of that audit. So how would you think you will win their votes? Or are you focused on their votes? Who vote are you trying to get?
Like I said, this election is for anybody to win. It's about who wants it bad enough. The problem is with the media that they're trying to make it like a two-person race between Brandon and Sheila. This election will get done in the trenches. Like, who's in the trenches, who's out here talking to the people every single day, who's out here got the best interests of the people, that's who's going to win this election. I don't care about, because people want to say, oh, you're trying to stop our programs and you're trying to stop us from living. No, I'm trying to stop what's going on, which is the disinvestment of our black and brown people. Let's just call it what it is. And for us to do that, I would care about the real people. Like, every donation I've got is from the people of Baltimore. It's not from no politicians, it's not from no corporations, it's from the people, because I don't care about that. You're not going to give me money to protect my integrity. I'm an integrity young man. You know, I'm young, but I have a lot of integrity. I don't care about the money, you know? So that's what I say. I don't care about the fake. I'm more about the real. The real people who hear me and hear my plan is going to vote for me. If you still like where we at, then vote for whoever else. But if you want to change, vote for me. That's what I said.
The thing about Wendy, I want to dap them up, but see, people want to say, you taking favoritism away. so I'm going to sit there and do like I've been doing with all candidates. I've been fair, but you know what? Do your thing, Wendell. Do your thing.
Very outspoken, very enthusiastic, very passionate, and it shows from there. I'm pretty sure people at home will be able to see how passionate you are about what you're saying. So, with all that being said, what makes you a better candidate than the rest of the mayor candidates? Why should people vote you
rest of us
as mayor above everyone else?
Well, don't be wrong. I respect everybody. Whoever is running for mayor because like people say, it takes courage to do this. A lot of people wouldn't take the initiative to say, "Hey, I want to change what's going on." But what makes me different from every other candidate is that not sitting no disrespect when I'm a lot younger, and what I mean is I'm a lot fresher, and what I mean is I have new ideas, and I bring just a new bright light to the city because my thing is I want to create a different chapter in Baltimore history. I'm one of the youngest candidates ever to run for mayor in the history of Baltimore. I want to, yeah. So I want to create.
That's true though.
That's Black History, by the way.
So I want to get.
Let's go
ahead now. Black History. Why I say that's Black History.
So I just want to create, a city that's winning. Winning in education, winning in crime, winning in economic development. Winning in because right now we're putting band-aids over issues. Why do we continue to build apartments and all these other houses? We got 15,000 big houses when we can put our resources into that.
Well, now that you go there, we were already talking about plans that they had with Harvard East. We had the vacant homes. What are your plans as far as the homelessness, the vacant homes, the investors in the city, and their plan to change the city, Port Covington? What are your ideas as far as development?
And that Harvard East situation.
Well, my issue, I'm talking about Harvard East. I don't like the plan. Man, I'm gonna stop it. Because I was talking this to my daughter, Mom. I was talking this other day. I said, I remember when I used to go down to Harvard. As a kid.
Watch what he said.
My daughter, Mom.
One more time. Who?
My daughter, Mom.
And listen to the difference he said that. I went to that.
No baby mother.
You see?
Yeah.
No baby mother. My daughter is mine.
My daughter, Mom.
Yep.
Now I was talking that other day, and I was like, I just remember when I used to go as a kid, like me and my little brother, we would go down to Harvard, and we didn't have no money, but we was excited. Why? Because we seen people walking downtown, we see businesses open, you seen people dancing downtown and all those entertainments. That's what I want. That's what I would like to see downtown. I would like to see bring that attraction back to Baltimore. Bring that people where families can come downtown and even if you ain't got no money, you can just walk around and see the scenery. Walk around and get some candy. Stuff like that. That's what we're doing. That plan is only going to create more criminals. That's what I believe. That's only going to. We got to think about it. If you build a shiny new buildings, people there will be paying anywhere between $3,000 to $5,000 a month to just live there. So think about it. If I'm a criminal, I'm thinking like, I know you got some money, so I'm gonna stick you up and do all these things. Now we're pushing more crime into that downtown area.
Right.
Why are we doing that? And as far as my big home strategy, in my first term, we want to put $800 million into the vacant home situation. So that means my first year we're going to invest $200 million into that because when I wake up, I'm tired of hearing gunshots. I'm sorry. I'm tired of waking up because in our communities, people have one house on a block and it's 16 vacant houses. People are living near rats and mice. And the thing is, when I'm going out and I'm campaigning, I'm talking to people and I'm saying, how long has this been like this? Oh, this has been like this for 10 years. So you're telling me you've been living next to this vacant house for 10 years? And you have rats coming in your house?
Yep.
But they threaten to take your house if you don't pay your water bill on time? Come on.
For the cheapest.
And another issue of the people was that, Baltimore is a food desert. It's not a single Walmart.
A lot of people don't
There's not a single Walmart in Baltimore City. Chances are you do have to travel outside of the city to get good, fresh food and produce. Have you ever thought about the food desert? Because I believe that Baltimore is the biggest food desert in the United States of America. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts on that is we're going to bring corner markets into the city of Baltimore. We have a lot of vacant businesses, we have a lot of vacant properties. So what we're gonna do, like, we're gonna bring corner markets where people people get their groceries, fresh food from a corner store, but it's a market at the same time. Now, that's just the first step. Now, markets tell me this. They say we don't want to invest into Baltimore because of the crime and the poverty and people are stealing and stuff like that. So, but we can cure the problem right now. And how we do that is making corner markets all over the city. We're going to invest $30 million, you know, in my first year, investing in corner markets in the east, west, south, east, west, south, and north side of Baltimore because that's what we need. When I was growing up as a kid, I remember that. You know, when I was growing up in east side of Greenmount, yeah, we had the Giants that always been there. But when I moved to, I was up down the hill on Bel Air Addison Highway, and it was no market. And I remember me and my mom, we didn't have a car, but we had to catch 2-3 buses from the market, the closest market we could get to. So imagine it's 2 hands, you got 20 bags of groceries. You know, you got bags ripping, you know, you catching the bus, you might leave, you might leave something on the bus or whatever, stuff like that. The food that has always been an issue, and no mayor in my lifetime has done anything about it. So what we're going to do is really create corner markets in our neighborhoods to make sure that every resident can get food, fresh food, vegetables, stuff like that.
Man, that's awesome. I would say you probably one of the most exciting candidates that we have on this cast so far. The passion and everything is lit up. So what's one thing that you would want the people to know about you that you know that you just want to get across to the people?
Take this
Number
time,
one thing.
look into that camera and tell Baltimore why
Give us your mission statement. Go ahead.
this city should be yours.
Well, they got to have me again, so I apologize.
I appreciate you for coming. You know, other candidates didn't even come. We'll talk about that. Some of them candidates and your counterparts didn't come.
I mean, hey, but you know, we know who really care about the city. That's what I said, right? But what I want people to know is this: for a long time in Baltimore, there's one word that I learned over time is that we have a sanity problem, and the sanity problem is this: we keep rotating through the same people over and over and over, expecting them results. It's like I put my hand on the stove and I know it's hot. I expect to get burned. But in my mind, if I keep thinking, oh, it's okay, it's cool now, and I know it's hot, I'm gonna continue to get burned. It's the same thing with this Baltimore politics. If you really want change in Baltimore City, look into every candidate. It's over 17 candidates running for mayor. Look into them. You don't have to pick into the cesspool of City Hall people who have been a part of all the things that have held us back as black and brown people. If we really want change, we really want to move forward. You know, you would want somebody with sharp ideas who really want to move our city forward. That's me. I'm a product of Baltimore City. I have kids here. I understand the importance of safety and education, and I understand the safety and ending the food deserts and ending crime and ending everything that we need. Like we're number one in dirtiness. We're the dirtiest city in America. We're the 4th dangerous city in America. And we talk about crime is down because people are moving out of Baltimore. Baltimore City isn't the only city where crime is down. Crime is down in about 14 cities in the East Coast because people are moving out. So we're not going to brag about losing less than 60 people like that's cool or something. No. If we have 3 options this election. I'm going to leave it at that. We can move, we can go back to the old days, right? We can go back to stop and friction where, you know, us black people will get stopped for going to the corner store or bringing milk to our mom. We can stay complacent, right? We can say, yo, we cool where we at. You know, we had 60 less murders last year. You know, our kids can't read. That's cool. That's acceptable. Or you say, you know what? We can move forward. We can have a new chapter in Baltimore history, and that's me. I'm Wendell Freeman. I want to be the next mayor because I'm tired of what's going on. If we really want to make change, we're going to start day one. We need somebody in the trenches every single day who's going to do the work and who's going to listen to the people. My slogan ain't putting people first for the reason our people need food markets, our people need better education, our people need to have a winning city, and we're going to do that to Mayor Freeman.
Mr. Wendell, we definitely appreciate you for stopping by, man. We definitely do. It was such a blessing. We will say, we wish the power of the Most High upon you, you know what I mean, your campaign with your family throughout your generation. You know, we wish the best for you for sure, man. We appreciate you for stopping by, man. Hey, man, we're going to continue interviewing these candidates. We have more coming up, you know. Stay tuned, we'll be more for real. I'm your co-host.
I'm Uncle Wayne.
I'm Danny.
Be more for real.
Mr. Wendell Freeman.
Right.
Appreciate y'all,
Thanks
man.
for joining.
Thank you.
Make sure y'all go out vote May 14th, man.
May 14th. All right, we're back now with the next mayor candidate. We have Mr. Donald E. Scoggins. We appreciate you for being here. Scoggins. I'm sorry.
We
about
do
Donald
this
E.
all the
Scoggins.
time. That's why they're gonna introduce themselves.
Yeah.
Our Uncle Wayne.
He's a Republican candidate running, and we're gonna learn something about Mr. Scoggins today. How are you, sir?
I'm very good, yeah. Weather's good and all like that, and I have nice,
Beautiful day today, isn't
very good.
You look well. You dress well. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Great to have you here as well.
Thank you very much.
it? So tell us why you want to be the leader of our beautiful city of Baltimore.
The reason why I want to be the leader, several reasons. Number one is that Baltimore is a beautiful city. It has great potential. As an urban planner, when I look at Baltimore, I see many things that others would call lemons, but I'll call it lemonade. And also, one of the big advantages of Baltimore, at least in terms of my interest, is that Baltimore is a predominantly black city. I think it has the potential of being one of the wealthiest jurisdictions or cities in the country. There is quite a bit of money in Baltimore, not necessarily in the black community, but it is in the city and it's in the region, Baltimore City region. So I think that we can do a better job at harnessing that all those advantages.
Awesome. So your background is in urban planning and urban development. Tell us a little bit about that.
For my background, I have undergrad in architecture from Hampton University. It used to be Institute back in the day.
Hampton.
I have a master's in urban regional planning. When I was in the military, I'm a Vietnam veteran. I had a chance to, when I was
Thank
in
you for your service.
Thank you. When I was in Vietnam, I was working with the State Department, who were working with the city of Da Nang to reestablish their city planning department that had become defunct during the war with the French back in the 50s. So one of my assignments was working with the city of Da Nang. I was a housing advisor at that time, and one of my tasks was to come up with ways that we could properly use the barracks, because the war was winding down. So one of my tasks was to figure out a way how we could use the barracks for civilian housing for the Vietnamese civilians. So that was, I really enjoyed that. Anything involved in housing, I just always enjoyed, because my dad was an electrical contractor in Tulsa.
Interesting.
And he,
Tulsa?
in Tulsa, Oklahoma, yeah, my father
Oh, wow.
was doing the Jim Crow, the end of Jim Crow.
Wow.
And when I was young, my brother and I, we used to go with him when he was working on some of his jobs. And I enjoyed looking at the houses because they had these, there were brand new homes in the south side of Tulsa, which was segregated at the time, so blacks couldn't live in the houses. They couldn't buy the houses, but yet he was wiring some of the houses.
Explain that a little.
Yeah.
Explain that.
Well,
If I may, can I ask you a question as well? Would that be like the Greenwich district in which, the massacres happened?
Right.
well, that happened. What the area that I'm talking about right now, where my dad wired a lot of homes and used to go there, that was in South Tulsa, which was the quote-unquote white part of town. Where the massacre happened in 1921, that was in North Tulsa. That was in the black community.
Okay.
And his business, he had an office on Greenwood and Archer Street, which was sort of like the nexus in the black community, in the black business community. So, what I was saying earlier about the houses, that's kind of rambling on a little bit, but I've always enjoyed looking at homes and building things, and I like seeing carpenters get out there and do their work and sawing and nails. So I remember saying to my dad, well, he used to say, he said, son, you could be he said, you could be an electrician too, And I said, well, I'm afraid I'll get shot. He said, well, the next best thing is be an architect. He said, the next best thing is be an architect. So I got involved in being in architecture. That's how I went to Hampton, majored in architecture. And he sort of, like I said, he was a small businessman, and I saw what he had to go through And he was quite a visionary person when you think about the late 40s and early 50s. He was quite visionary, and I would say that he was one of the most influential guys in my life. He was only like 30, in his late 30s at the time, but he was one of the smartest persons I know, because he was doing things back then that we talk about doing now.
Awesome. So with your background,
Absolutely.
absolutely, and with your background, you know, in urban planning and development, what are your visions that you see for Baltimore? Because I know you say, you know, you see things, and you know, what do you see in Baltimore? What's your vision for Baltimore?
Well, my vision of Baltimore is to increase, number one, I would like to increase the home ownership rate within Baltimore, especially for those who have been living here for a long time. I do not, how should I put it? It displeases me to have a large rental population. I think that if we have the right leadership, we can come up with programs that will help people become homeowners before the prices become too far out of reach. They're getting that way now, but we need some leadership in Baltimore to come up with policies that can help people become homeowners. Now, as far as one of my visions go, my vision is that in Baltimore, the blight is very sprawling. You know, it's blocks and blocks and blocks of it, so that sometimes people may get kind of mesmerized with just how they're going to make Baltimore what it can be. I envision taking it a section at a time. Don't try to do the whole city at once, but go to the part of the city that has the highest concentration of blight and poverty, and try to reform the city from inside out. And I would also put more emphasis on the center part of the city, and I wouldn't say less emphasis on it, but I would use the same amount of energy and innovation and dispatch that some people are giving towards the downtown area. I think we need to concentrate more on where people live. Yeah.
Speaking of Harbor East.
Speaking of Harbor East, there is a plan for redevelopment of houses and things of that nature, luxury apartments and things of that nature. Based on your knowledge of what's going on, how do you feel, and what's your standpoint on the proposal?
I'm against as it's proposed right now, I'm against the Harbor Place redevelopment. I think that I'm in favor of revitalizing downtown, but the way they're talking about doing it, I think is inappropriate. Number one, they're talking about 900 luxury apartments, condos, I would imagine, and they'll be high-rise. Many of the people that I know and been hearing about, they do not want to do anything that's going to mar the skyline or mar the view of the inner harbor. We should make it so that it be more of a walkable, sort of a combination of, it can be redeveloped and have more green space. I think we need to enhance the green space down there instead of having so much concrete development. That's one. Another reason why I'm against it is because I feel that with the needs in Baltimore, we need to do more about looking at seeing what we can do to reduce the poverty rate. And I feel that like I said, I want to redevelop the inner harbor, but at the same time, I don't want all our energies and all our attention go to down there at the expense or at the exclusion of the center part. Because when you come up to the center part of the area of the city, you can see that has been neglected for not years, but decades.
For a long time.
Long time, several decades, not 1, 2, or 3, but even maybe 4 or 5 decades. It's been neglected, and a lot of the crime that we see is manifested in the fact that when you live in an area that's quite blight, and it's I would say blight and deprivation and all like that, it does something to you psychologically, it does something to you mentally, and I think that we need to concentrate on developing our human capital also.
Absolutely. And since you went there, you know, we're talking about crime and everything. You know, every mayor has their own crime plan and crime prevention and things of that nature. What are your thoughts? What are your crime plans? What are your crime prevention plans that you plan to have in place?
What are the crime prevention plans that I have? And I'm glad you use the word prevention, because I think what we talk about a lot is after the crime has been committed, then we try to address the youth or the young people about that. And while I'm in favor of having anyone who commit the crime must do the time, I'm in favor of that. I don't believe in being light with that part of it, but I do believe that we need to get with these young people at a much earlier age and intervene in terms of trying to develop a mindset so they do not go into crime in the first place, and give them hope. Ask them, I keep looking back on when I was a young person, when I was maybe 5 or 6 or 7 years old, I kind of sort of knew where I wanted to be. And, I think I want to give these young people hope and have them be able to dream about certain things. I want them to be able to feel that they have ownership in their life. Right now, a lot of these young people don't feel like it's, they commit the crime because they don't see any value in life. And if you don't have value in life, you don't need value in your own life. So I think that we need to do more about getting them at an early age, and we can do that in addition to what I said, but also we need to do that in terms of giving support to the young families. Because I remember before the black family got, how should I put it, how it was decimated over the years with poor government policies that's decimated our families. So I would like to get back to the basics when it comes to strengthening the family, and I think that would help quite a bit.
Awesome. So since you mentioned the youth, and I actually love that explanation as well, you got to the youth. What are your plans for the youth as far as the city? A lot of the residents they're angry at the shutting down the rec centers and opening up of the jail systems and stuff like that. What is your plan for the youth? And I heard you on the WMAR on your podcast, and I think I like how your plan is geared towards the youth. So could you share a little bit about that?
Right. One of the things that I feel need to be done, and that's why I'm very, very much interested and really want to see what we can do about these boarded up and vacant houses. Because when you look at that represents lost revenue. That's revenue that can be used to do some of these things that we talk about, such as keeping the rec centers open. I believe that since youth crime is such a problem in the city, we may have to have that more of a priority to keep these rec centers open and look at some of the nonprofit organizations that are getting millions and millions of dollars every year. Many of them doesn't seem to be doing anything that's worthwhile as far as I was concerned. So I would take some of that money and make sure that we open up the youth centers. And another thing I would do is that we need to come up with a program, or not just a program, but we need to come up with a curriculum in our school system that will take the youth out of the city. There's some youth that haven't, they live here in Baltimore, they haven't even been out of the city. And I'm not talking about waiting until they get to be 17, 18 years old. I would like to, we're about 35 or 40 miles away from D.C. Take your own bus trips, go and visit the Frederick Douglass home, visit the Mary McLeod Bethune house in D.C. Take them even on the eastern shore. We just take them out and do something so they don't have to feel like they're stuck here. Another thing that I would do is I would look at the government in Baltimore, the local government. I would look for ways that we can have internships or work study type programs at an early age, maybe starting at 16 years old, and have them so that instead of being cooped up in a classroom all day, they can have time to go and do some work study, even if it's just through osmosis. A lot of the young people, at least I know when I was very young, some of the things that interest me now, I got it through osmosis. Excuse me?
Give us a little about what that is.
Okay, when I say osmosis, is that being in an area where you just hear adults that may be in business, you just see what they have to go through. I remember my father when we were young, the phone would ring. Like I said, he was an electrician. He had a Scoggins electric company. The phone would ring, and then he would say, "Answer the phone." You know, he would tell. You know, we would answer the phone. Scoggins electric company. You know, that type of thing. We weren't getting paid, but we just saw it need to be done, and then I would see him having to take care of bills and certain responsibilities that you see people go through. That's what I mean by osmosis. You just get it. You know.
I get exactly what you're saying. The osmosis is basically the chemical process that water does, and you can find it in like salts where you soak in the information. So basically, osmosis is a fancy way of saying taking in information. You're more like an intern, just sitting there and you're developing skills based on
what you take it in. You take it in an informal way. You know, you're not reading it out of a book.
Correct.
You just sometimes you learn by doing.
Right, and seeing.
Yeah, and doing and seeing. Yeah,
exactly.
Right, and you see people that are, and here's another point. Here's another point that I think is very important, and this is something that I need to mention, and that is with our community, when integration came in, so to speak, the black community in many cases was dispersed. You had the middle class blacks by and large moved out to the places where we normally couldn't live. And that left certain areas in our section of town, the black section of town, that had people who were of lesser means. I think it's very important for people to be around people who are doing things, aspiring. You know, maybe back in the day when I was growing up in Tulsa, you had doctors and lawyers and auto mechanics and carpenters. They all pretty much teachers. They pretty much lived in the same community with everybody else, you know. And so you had a chance to see people who were doing things. They were aspiring. If they were going to work, they had a coat and tie on. You know, you saw. You were
pretty much like good role models, right?
Yeah, they were good. Yeah, they were good role models.
Yes,
it was a neighborhood. It was good role models. And then also, I never will forget this. My fourth grade teacher in Tulsa taught my dad. And I remember, and I never will forget this, and I always have to mention this story, is that something happened in my fourth grade class. And when I got home that evening, my dad said, "Son, how'd everything go in school today?" And I wondered to myself, I said, why did he ask me that question? You know, because I think it was something I didn't do right in school, maybe in the classroom or something like that. But he never told me that, but what I knew was that my fourth grade teacher called him up and told him about what happened. So that's how it used to be back in the day. The communities were much closer with each other. Everybody knew each other, and like you may have had a class, you may have had a teacher who was the classmate of your parent and everything. So everybody knew everybody else, and that sort of held up. I think that was something that we lost in the last 50, 60 years.
That's wonderful. Let me ask you something. You know what fascinates us? We actually had some candidates on here, right? We had a councilman on here who was Republican. We had Mr. Chico. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. He's independent. You're Republican. We see an increase in black Republican candidates. Uncle Wayne also running for mayor as well on the Democratic side. What made you go to the Republican side, and tell us about that whole choice on your stance behind your decision to back the Republican Party?
Absolutely. We definitely want to know.
Okay, here's the thing, and I'm glad you asked me that question. Back in 1956, Eisenhower was running for re-election, and during that time, Little Rock, Arkansas was being integrated, and it was controversy in Little Rock, and Eisenhower sent in the troops to accompany the young blacks who were integrating Little Rock High School. That effort, I would say, that action that he did sort of was a groundswell of support for Eisenhower. And that was, like I said, that was in 1956. I was 11 years old, and in the black community, you had wives of some of the businessmen. They went up and down Greenwood and Archer and Pine, which was a black business community. They were campaigning for Eisenhower, and they were handing out these little buttons that said "I like Ike," and they also had little was a straw basket of chicken salad sandwich. These little chicken salad sandwich, little dollar, not dollar, but little small chicken.
Like a little older.
Yeah, a little older,
small.
They're small, but they were chicken salad. And so what they were doing is,
nice.
yeah. So what you do, you gave them the chicken little thing, and then they gave the people a bucket. And so I was 11 years old, and I was carrying the basket that had these chicken salad sandwiches in it. And that was, I always like to say, that's my first foray into being involved in politics. And another thing is that because of at one time, the Republican Party they were very entrepreneurial oriented, and they were very much economic oriented. They were business oriented.
And their beliefs were so much different.
Their beliefs were different than they were today, because they were, like I said, it was much different than it is today. The Republican Party has gone through about 3 or 4, maybe 5 iterations since that time. And because of the fact that I'm entrepreneurial and business minded and economic minded, I've just stuck with the Republican Party, because I would say the Republican Party left me. I didn't necessarily leave it. I feel that I'm more Republican than many people today that are Republicans, because
That's interesting.
With me, it's policy, not party.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. So how long would you say you've been affiliated with the Republican Party? How could you like?
I would say, in terms of activism, when I got discharged from military service,
Right.
I came back from Vietnam in 1972.
Not to cut you off, but when you was 11 and got that spark, it didn't turn you into a Republican?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That was the
So
beginning.
you were a Republican ever since then?
Yeah, I wasn't old enough to vote, but I had that Republican
spirit.
Yeah, I had that Republican mindset, ideology, because like I said, back in the Jim Crow days, you had a lot of black businessmen, and they tended to be Republican because of the economic thrust, not because of any other way. It was because of economics. And even today, when I hear people talk about different things, my first question is, what is your economic plan? I mean, sometimes people get involved in things that are emotional.
Which is the party?
Yeah, they get involved in a whole bunch of who struck John sort of. And another thing that I would say attracted me to the Republican Party was that they seemed to be more practical, pragmatic oriented. What do you need to do to get the job done? That was the thing. All this other pretty type talk and everything wasn't a part of the Republican Party. And I found out that, and I kind of hate to say this, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it, is that I think that as a people, blacks particularly seem to put more weight into, do they love me? They want love and everything.
Right.
They want people to love them, and everything. And then they love you to death, but yet they keep you poor, And my interest is that I can do away with the love, but just don't bother my money, to make sure that, that's what I mean, because in the final analysis is economics. That's the biggest thing in our community, is that we are very deficient when it comes to economics.
Absolutely. We have somewhere around 6 or 7 minutes. What we want you to do at this time is tell the city of Baltimore why Mr. Donald E. Scoggins should be the next mayor of Baltimore City.
I would say one of the big reasons that, number one, I'm not entrenched. I haven't been here forever. And from what I can see is that some of the current political class, they've been so entrenched and so used to cronyism and this type of thing, that everybody knows everybody else. Everybody wants to scratch everybody else's back. And the people who suffer the most are the ones who need the most help. And if you don't believe me, just come to Baltimore in the center part of it, and you can see. I believe that as mayor of Baltimore, I can be very focused. I don't have to worry about, at this point in my life, I don't have to worry about who I'm going to make sure I curry favor with that will help me on my next political foray, because I'm not looking for another political position. I just want to see what I can do to help the next generation, because I'm very afraid for the young people. I don't see the current leadership, I don't see them sufficiently addressing the youth. Everything is about getting elected or either protecting a certain political party or whatever. It seems like it's more party over policies.
What if you wake up, this is my question I've been putting in there. What if you wake up and find out you are the next mayor of Baltimore City? What would be the first thing that you do?
The first thing I would do is, well, it's kind of be hard to say the first thing. Well, I would say, I'll tell you what, the first thing I would do is I'm usually pretty cool and everything, and I don't get too excited about things. But the first thing I would do is say, well, there is a God, because it's going to take a miracle. It's probably going to take a miracle to get elected. So I think I would probably do a prayer. The next thing I would do is make sure that I talk to people who I'm probably going to have to, who I will have to confront with certain policies I want to see implemented, and make sure I develop a good relationship with those who may be on the other side.
Absolutely, man. We appreciate that. Mayor-elect Donald E. Scoggins, Republican, for the Republican Party, man. We like we said, we have a conversation. This is not news. We want to make sure that we get the reports out there. It's Be More For Real. We're brought to you by Real Explosions. Stay tuned for the next one. We definitely appreciate you, Mr. Scoggins, man. It's a blessing to have you here.
Thank you very much.
What we will say is we definitely wish the Most High Creator his blessings, his everlasting favor upon your life, your family, and throughout your generations. We appreciate you for stopping by.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is Be More For Real, and we like the realness. So, our next mayor has just been on our show, y'all. So, let's get to know him. If we want to get to know you, where can we find you?
Well, I have a website, www.scoggins4mayor.com. Also, you're very welcome to send me an email at info@scogginsformayor.com. And also, I don't mind being called or texted
Let's go.
at 443-993-2090.
I am Uncle Wayne.
I am Danny. We appreciate you guys. And we have Republican Mayor-elect Donald E. Scoggins for you. We appreciate you. Catch you next time. This is Be More For Real, brought to you by way of Real Explosion. Thank you.
Be More For Real, brought to you by way of Real Explosion. We have another guest with us today. First of all, how you feeling, Uncle Wayne?
Absolutely. Thanks to Be More For Real, I am Uncle Wayne. We are back. We have another candidate in the house with Be More For Real.
I'm
Uncle Wayne.
I'm OMG Danny. A major heavy hitters with us. This is Mr. Thiru Vignarajah. Did I say that right?
Said it perfectly.
I appreciate that.
Well, look, we've been working on it, so we allowed you to say it.
Yes,
it's got to
sir.
be the hardest name you've had to introduce.
It is.
Hardest name, but are you the best candidate?
I thought we were going to go straight into it. Sure.
He don't waste no time. But pleasure to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be here, man.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. We welcome you. So let's get into it. Tell us why you want to be mayor of our beautiful city of Baltimore.
Look, Baltimore has more potential than any city I know. Baltimore has, frankly, a bigger distance between where we are and where we could be than any city in America.
That I agree.
We have what our city politicians have done, not just recently. I'm not just talking about Brandon. I'm talking about Sheila, Brandon, and everybody in between. What they do is they blame others for our city's problems. Schools are out of control. They say, oh, that's a state agency. Crime is out of control. They say, oh, that's a national problem. Potholes don't get filled. They say, oh, we don't have enough money. For every single thing that goes wrong in this city, they find someone to blame, someone to point fingers at, and they don't take responsibility. That is the opposite of leadership. And I think this city has so much going for it that if you could just introduce some real leadership, some real accountability, some real transparency, you could unleash the promise of a city and start the renaissance of Baltimore.
Okay. So starting with that renaissance, do you have any particular crime plans or anything like that?
Dig into it,
So now that we're getting into it, like, what kind of plans do you have there?
Look, we have a plan for everything. I am very proud that I think people know me as the guy that has got a big vision, but also a detailed roadmap. Because it's easy to say, oh, we're going to get murders down 20%. But how are you going to do that? How are you going to actually achieve that lofty goal? You need details. We put a 25-page crime plan out, a 30-page education plan, and I'll give you some of the details. We, 4 years ago, said there were 20 things that had never been done before that I wanted to do to drive murders down. Let me start with a simple illustration. Did you guys know that we have the highest lethality rate in America, which means more people die from gunshots as a percentage in Baltimore than any other city in America?
Well, I've heard.
I can believe that.
And the reason, it turns out, is not because we got better shooters. It's because they use bigger bullets, they have more casings per crime scene, and they finish their victims off with headshots. So literally, in other cities, they use smaller guns, smaller bullets. We use bigger bullets. At other cities, they fire 3 or 4 times. We have 10 or more casings at every crime scene. And the percentage of headshots is higher. So our killers use bigger bullets, more bullets, and they finish their victims off with headshots. But we still don't solve these murders. So last year, there were 265 murders, something like that. We will solve, by an arrest, 20 to 25%. In Baltimore County, they solve 90% of murders. So one of the things that I want to do is create a cold case unit. Add 40 detectives. One of the reasons we can do that is because there are people that are retiring from Baltimore County that would love to have a second chance to work some hard cases. But we can't go solve all of 200 murders from last year. What we can do is say, listen, I want you to focus on the murders that had 45 caliber casings at the crime scene, 10 or more casings at the crime scene, and the victims were finished off with headshots. Because the person who perpetrated that crime, that's not a first-time offender. That's someone who's done this over and over and over again. So I want to focus our resources not on mass incarceration, not on zero tolerance. We know those strategies have not worked. We can be smarter about it. That's one example among 20 of things that we would do.
All right.
Awesome.
Now, tell us a little about yourself. We hear this, we go to the forums, and we hear. On Be More For Real, we want to know about you. We want to know who's going to run Baltimore City.
Yeah, Uncle Ian, I thought that's where we were going to start. We went right into crime. I was like, all right.
We had to get that out the way.
I love it. Look.
We had to get that part out the way.
Absolutely.
I am so proud to be a son of Baltimore in so many ways. My mother came in 1970 to teach math at Poly High School.
Poly.
I offend half the city because all the city grads are mad at me, but my mom taught at Poly in 1970. She went back, got married, had me and my sister a little later in life, and then a war broke out and we had to flee. We came back here because she was able to take her most prized possession, a Volkswagen Beetle. She was driving around all in her 30s, and she sold it to get 4 tickets for herself, her husband, my father, and me and my sister. But what we didn't know until recently is the way she got that Volkswagen Beetle is she was able to use the money she had earned at Poly High School to buy that little car. So in many ways, this city saved my family's life from before I was even born. When we got here, she obviously had started at Poly. She finished her career teaching at Morgan State. My dad taught at Edmondson, as I was mentioning, Douglas, at Southern, before and after was Digital Harbor. He finished his career teaching at Western. When he retired, he was the oldest teacher teaching in the state of Maryland. He was 80 years old. He's 87 now. He doesn't like me telling people he's 87.
That's a blessing. In Baltimore in 87, that's a blessing.
Absolutely.
And my mom is 86. And that's the tradition in which I was raised. It was a tradition of grit and hard work, of faith and public service. We tried our best to live up to that. Went to local public schools, Edmondson Heights Elementary, graduated from Woodlawn High, and went off to Yale for college, Harvard for law school. I was president of the Harvard Law Review before Barack Obama made it cool. And then I came back to Baltimore to serve. I was a federal and city prosecutor, deputy attorney general in Maryland, was a litigation partner at a big law firm. I now am the managing partner of the largest civil rights law firm in America. I've had a very blessed life, but in so many ways it is thanks to Baltimore. That's a little bit about who I am.
That's awesome. You know, there were candidates like, well, actually the mayor now, Brandon Scott, he went to local schools as well. So what kind of sort of sets you apart from, you know, Brandon Scott, Sheila Dixon, some of the other mayors that, you know, we're local, have grassroots, local upcomings and things of that nature?
Remember, he said, set you apart.
Look, let me be clear. When I got in this race, it was in part because I heard this debate unfolding all across Baltimore. Nobody was excited about option 1 or option 2. They were talking about which was the lesser of two evils. And I'm not trying to be... I'm just trying to be honest. What I heard was some people would say, oh, corruption is the worst thing. I will never go back to Sheila Dixon because gift cards were just the tip of the iceberg. I will never vote for corruption. And so I will instead vote for Brandon Scott. And some people say, no. Incompetence is the worst thing. In government, incompetence is the worst thing. And even though Sheila, was redirecting funds to her sister and her campaign chairman and sending development deals, I would vote for Sheila because incompetence is the worst thing. They weren't debating about which was the better of two candidates. They were debating which was the lesser of two evils.
True fact. And that's how people view a lot of politics.
They do. And
sad,
but
true.
It is sad. And I thought, this is not a debate worthy of this city. I am not perfect, but we have real ideas that are distinct from the platitudes and the slogans of Sheila and Brandon. You were on stage when we had that environmental debate. We were talking about serious issues. And I heard from Ms. Dixon, we got to recycle more, we got to compost more, and we got to educate people about recycling and composting. That is where your position's got to start.
Environmental.
Yeah.
I didn't make it to that one.
Yeah. I mean, this is ridiculous that that's what they were talking about. We have serious problems in this city, and we need serious candidates. Brandon Scott is a very nice guy, but he is in over his head. And he has shown that over and over again. I'm very proud of having had some significant leadership roles at an early age. Truth is, in some ways, I wasn't always ready for it. At his age, I may not have been ready to be ready. But over time, through the crucible of fire, the crucible of humiliation, the crucible of being taught a lot of lessons along the way, you come to a position where you are very, very different. And I'm very, very different. I'll point out three things. Number one, we're the only campaign that is not taking money from PACs or corporations or hedge funds. We're the only campaign that is using public financing and is going to qualify to do that. That means the most I can ask from anyone is $150. Why is that so important? Because Brandon and Sheila, they still take money from the same people they've always taken money from. And in exchange for those donations, $1,000, $2,000, $6,000, what do they have to do?
So you think that their integrity could be compromised with those type of donations?
Their integrity has been compromised. This is not me speculating. Look at where the ARPA funds went. We got $641 million in federal funds, a once-in-a-generation gift. It was a blank check given to Brandon, and what did he do with it? He gave $5 million here, $5 million there, $10 million here, $10 million there. 45 nonprofits got $44 million. Who picked those nonprofits? There are a lot of worthy nonprofits. He just gave it to his favorite friends.
It's true. Research I've done, I hate to chime in. I've been doing research, and you hit it on the head. These are true facts.
And I don't mind that nonprofits got the money, but there's lots of nonprofits that are doing work
who deserve it.
And didn't
true
get
fact, and did not get it.
Holland's Market, not far from here.
Okay.
Northeast Market, not far from, on the other side, but, incredible markets, okay? How come they didn't get any money, but Lexington Market got $5 million? Is that because the family that runs Lexington Market, the developers that did that, were big donors to Brandon Scott's campaign? Like, you have to understand that when you trace this money, just like Sheila gave money to major developers. The Poppleton effort, what Sonia Edie has had to live through, that was one of the worst development deals in Baltimore history, and Sheila made that happen. The developers that gave her the mink coats and the gift cards, the problem with that was not just the gift cards and the mink coats, it's that when you didn't disclose that, and then the city gives major deals to those developers, they've been compromised. I'm not trying to call them out on stuff that is off limits. I'm calling them out on stuff that is exactly the job of the mayor.
Well, now that you went there, you know, there's a major project developing in the Harbor East, and it's a major hot topic of debate and discussion. Where do you stand as far as the Harbor East development and the construction that they plan on building there?
For background, Dave Bramble and MCB Realty are a local developer. That's great. But when local developers want to build luxury apartments on our most precious public space, I can't say, oh, because he's local, we're going to support that. We need affordable housing. We need places where people can gather and congregate, people of all different backgrounds, people of all different races, people of all different socioeconomic statuses. Those luxury apartments, $3,000 a month for one of those condos in that thing. That is what he wants to build on the water's edge of our most precious public space. I don't know actually where Uncle Wayne has come out on this, but of what I will say is sort of the major candidates, and I'm saying that only because the media sometimes decides who they're going to focus on. I have been blessed in a way that they will focus on me. Of Sheila, Brandon, and myself, I'm the only one that has said we will reject that proposal. I will not allow the construction of luxury apartments on public space. We wouldn't do it in Clifton Park or Druid Hill Park. We shouldn't be doing it at the Inner Harbor Park. And it's sad for me to hear Brandon and Sheila be complicit in giving our public space away to private developers. That should never have happened, and it won't happen on my watch.
Absolutely. I love that response. Well, you know, the people of Baltimore, we are so fed up with politics and people promising things that won't happen. So who's to say that when you get in office, you wouldn't switch up and you know what I'm saying, go back on your word and what you're promising on your campaign?
Look, this is such an honest and important question because people make stuff up on the campaign all the time.
All the time.
They literally say one thing and they do the exact opposite. 6 months later. And what they're banking
6 months later.
3 months later.
Exactly.
Sometimes they are banking on the fact that people don't pay attention. Some people are banking on the fact that they think they can cover it up and window dress it so that when they run for re-election, they can gloss over it. I'll give 2 examples, okay? And by the way, Sheila did this 100 different ways. She just never got a chance to run for re-election because she left in disgrace. But the truth is that they all claim that they're for the people. Brandon made a pledge that murders would go down 15% every year on his watch. And at the end of the first year, murders had gone up, and he said, I don't know what you're talking about. And then at the end of the second year, murders still had not gone down, and he ignored it. The third year, murders go down, just as they have in every city in America. Detroit last year had its lowest murder rate since 1966. And he said, look, I promised a 15% reduction. We've had a 20% reduction. Therefore, I've met my pledge. His pledge was 15% every year, right? And he thinks we're stupid and that we can't do the math to realize that. He made a pledge that he was going to shut down the incinerator. Okay? Literally said on video in an environmental forum 4 years ago, I am going to shut down the incinerator. We're going to break the deal with Wheelabrator. We're going to break the deal with this polluting company. And then he said, you know that I'm going to do that. It goes without saying. That's what he said. It goes, but then he said it, and then 6 months later he reversed himself and said, oh, actually, we got to negotiate. We now have a 10-year contract with the company that he said he would not negotiate with. And what's he hoping? He's hoping that if he doesn't show up to the environmental forum, which he didn't, nobody will call him. Here's what I'm going to do, because you deserve an answer to your question, which is, well, why won't you do the same thing? A couple days ago, I made a pledge that I was going to do 5 things within the first 60 days with respect to the environment. I was going to announce a break of the deal with the incinerator. We're going to launch 2 free bus routes from west to east Baltimore. And I'll give you the details of those in a second. But at the end of the 5 pledges, I said, if I don't do these things within the first 60 days of my time as mayor, on the last day of February 2025, I will jump into the Inner Harbor. Okay? And then to prove how serious I was, 2 days ago, I jumped into the Inner Harbor. Okay?
Really?
Yes.
Stop playing.
WBAL, you can go, I'll send you the video.
Well, we had to look it up.
But why did I do that? It's not because jumping into the water is going to kill you. It's not going to kill you. It's cold. It's uncomfortable. You got to take a couple of showers when you get out.
The harbor within itself.
Right. But why did I do that? It's not because jumping into the water after breaking my promises is going to kill me. I did it because if I break my promise on something I said I'm going to do within the first 60 days, I want everyone to call me on February 28, 2025, you guys and every camera and every news outlet said, if you promised that if you didn't do this, you jump into the harbor, we're here with our cameras to watch you do that. And if I even don't honor one of those pledges, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to jump into the harbor. And the point of that is not, oh, I had a cold morning. The point of that is the world is going to know that I didn't keep my word.
So yours is back with a jump into the harbor promise.
That's correct. And look, that's for the environmental ones.
Back by
right?
jump into the harbor promise.
Correct. That's for the environmental ones. What I have said on the other ones is I want to say these things directly to you. And if I don't honor my word, call me on it. It's on TV. It's on podcast. It's on radio. Play this video back at me. Because that's how you have kind of like, I'll give you a quick example. You guys know LaGuardia Airport? LaGuardia Airport, New York? Yep. It was named after Mayor LaGuardia. Okay? Mayor LaGuardia was a great mayor in New York City. He once said, if a pigeon dies in Central Park, blame me. Okay? It's my responsibility. He wanted to take responsibility for everything. That is the kind of mayor I want to be. If the potholes aren't fixed, blame me. If the schools are broken, blame me. If the crime's out of control, if carjackings are on rise, if juveniles are getting away with everything, if the traffic lights don't make sense, if your water bills and your gas bills are out of control, blame me. Because I'm the guy that wants to be mayor and has made a bunch of pledges and promises. And if he doesn't keep those pledges and promises, vote him out. Because I don't want to be mayor to go do ribbon cutting. I want to be mayor to get this stuff done. And the last thing I will say, because it is such an important question, go back and look at the promises that I have made. Go back and look at the pledges and the commitments that I made in the work, not during political season, but in the off season. When I ran for office 4 years ago and lost, I didn't disappear. I kept fighting. When I ran for office 2 years ago and lost, I didn't disappear. I kept fighting. And each time we took up a fight to help a senior who was about to lose her house in a tax sale that she'd inherited from her father, we fought and we won. When people said BG&E, you can't take them on, they've lined the pockets of every politician, and no politician would call back some of the most well-connected community leaders, we took on that fight and we won. And so when I took up these fights, I didn't just say, oh, I'll be there standing at the podium. I said, let me lead this charge because I think there's a way to solve this. And then we solved it.
Awesome.
That's what I've been doing.
And so one last question as well. You said that your donors come from the public, and you're not backed by any, of these companies and things of that nature. So obviously you have the public at interest. So at what point will you protect the public interest over the lobbyists such as BG&E that's lining the pockets of these politicians? How do we know that you're going to back the pockets of the people versus, the lobbyists at those platforms?
Look, what do they say in politics? Follow the money. Okay? The tens of thousands of dollars, the hundreds of thousands of dollars, the millions of dollars that BG&E, for example, and it's not just them. There's major corporations that do this with every local politician, every state politician, every federal politician. Follow the money. If I do something, it is going to be because I believe it is best for the public. One of my pledges, those 5 pledges that I announced before jumping into the harbor, was that we would like Montgomery County, like Washington, D.C., like San Francisco, that we would forbid new gas hookups for construction in Baltimore City starting in 2026. No politician has said that. You know why? Because BG&E would get mad at them. I've already made that pledge. And I think you can look at the work I have done. I don't tend to stand up for big interests. I tend to stand up for people that have no voice, for people that don't have a seat at the table. I was one of them. Right now, look, I've had a very blessed life, and I've gone from Edmondson Heights and Woodlawn to Yale and Harvard Law School. But I didn't go to New York and join some big law firm in Washington, D.C. and go work in the White House. I could have. Those were options and opportunities that were open to me. There's only been 2 presidents of the Harvard Law Review that have ever run for office. Only 2. 130, some of them. One of them was Barack Obama, and the other one is sitting in your podcast studio.
Wow.
And I know the options that are available to people that break out of places like Edmonton. I keep pointing to you because we went to the same schools.
Right.
You know that a lot of folks don't have the blessed life to get out of that world, and often they don't come back.
Absolutely.
And that breaks my heart because we need them back more than anything. Well, I came back and I've served the public my entire career. Being a lawyer, I'm good at it. I'm a good lawyer. I'm a great prosecutor. You ask my opponents, ask anyone. But it is my career. It is not my calling. And one of the things that happens when you run and you lose, is you ask yourself, is this really what I want to do? Because they've said some, am I allowed to person?
Sure, absolutely. Be more for real. Yeah.
Be more for real.
For real.
A lot of shit has been said about me. And I have to face it each time. And I enter races knowing that some of that stuff is untrue and unfair, and it's going to get slung at you anyway. And some of that stuff is true, and it's fair. And you got to hear that anyway. And I put my face in the buzzsaw over and over again because this is what I want to do with my time on this earth. I don't want to go to Congress. Congress seems like a hot mess. I don't want to be the governor of a prosperous state. Maryland is doing fine. I want to be the mayor of a broken city that has so much promise, and it is the only thing I want to do with my time on this earth. Look, you get one life. You get one shot at this. Do something that wakes you up in the morning. Do something that gives you meaning. For me, that is playing my role in turning around this incredible city.
Absolutely. Mr. Thiru Vignarajah, Democratic Mayor-elect of Baltimore City. We appreciate you for coming by, man.
Appreciate your time and coming by. Awesome. And once again, as a candidate, quite impressive, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Quite impressive.
Look, I've enjoyed our conversations, and I'll say this to everyone.
But one second.
I got to say one thing.
You're going to get the last moment if you give us a chance, sir.
You go ahead then.
Thanks for joining us, Be More For Real. We're going to take the last few minutes to give this candidate time to tell you why he should be the mayor of Baltimore City. I am Uncle Wayne for Be More For Real.
I'm on G. Danny.
Listen, I appreciate it so much. I'm actually not, that's not what I'm going to spend my last minute doing. You can go to thiruformayor.com and learn all about us. You can focus on the website and the plans and the strategies and the news conferences. I do believe I'm the most qualified. But I actually want to say something else. I don't accept these invitations every time I get them. I go to every debate, I go to every forum, but when you're on the stage, you can very quickly figure out who is honest and earnest and is doing this for the right reasons and who is not. And I said this to you, Uncle Wayne, and people have been on the stage with me before. I don't say it about everyone. I know that Uncle Wayne's heart is pure. I know that he is doing it for the right reasons. And so that is important for people to know because that is not uniform. And you will not hear me say that about every single person. They have their own agendas. That is not to say that Brandon and Sheila aren't good people. They are. But Sheila and Brandon are doing it for very different reasons than the reason that someone like Uncle Wayne or someone like me does it for. That is all I can say. We are publicly financed. So the most you can donate is $150. $25 turns into $250. You want to go to our website and donate, I'd be honored and privileged. But I actually want to just spend these last few seconds celebrating that part of the joy of running is meeting people that also love this city, and not just as opponents during a political season, but in the off season as well. So thank you.
Absolutely. Shout out Uncle Wayne. Shout out the Room.
Absolutely. We are doing it.
It's Be More For Real podcast brought to you by way of Real Explosion. Keep it locked. We got you covered.
Absolutely. Be blessed.
Be More For Real brought to you by way of Real Explosion. We got another one with you, action-packed candidate with us here today. Mayor-elect Keith Scott is in the building with us, man. How are you?
How you doing? Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, sir.
Be more
Thank you
for
for
real,
being
be
here.
more for real, be more for real. I am Uncle Wayne. We do have another candidate for Baltimore. Keith is in the house.
Yes, sir. I'm your co-host, OMG Danny. Let's give it
Uncle
up for
Wayne.
Keith Scott. Yes, sir.
Oh, well, yeah. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm proud to be here. And take it easy. Take it easy on me.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Now, Keith, you're here, candidate. Tell us why you want to be mayor of our beautiful city of Baltimore.
Unfortunately, our city is not beautiful.
Ooh.
And the reason I'm running is because of our city is not beautiful. We have so many problems that we are still not admitting. The fact that we are disconnected people, we're going to have to find a way to put us together and have us work together and achieve more stuff in Baltimore City.
Okay, well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what are some of those plans that you have to achieve those goals that you have for Baltimore City?
One of the goals in my first 60 days of being your mayor of Baltimore City, I will be in the streets creating neighborhood associations and turn them to LLC businesses. Huh?
Tell me a little about that. Kind of repeat that again a little bit.
Well, like I said, I will be in the streets meeting with people and creating neighborhood association and then turning them into LLC business and giving them the capability to create wealth for themselves.
How will that work?
It will work the fact that as a community, creating wealth, you pretty much take care of everything that's in your neighborhoods. Crime, homelessness, cleaning up, because simple fact, we don't have to rely on city for nothing. You are fully able to take care of these problems on your own because you have that power to create wealth.
That's an interesting concept. So you saying that you will have neighborhood associations, kind of sort of like homeowner associations, and they will become LLCs.
Yep.
So tell me how you plan to make that work to begin with.
Well, we would need the capability of creating wealth. So we got all these broken down, condemned buildings. I would definitely give them to the community so they could actually fix up and create wealth for themselves.
So by giving to the community, what do you mean by that?
We have a lot of properties. And the city is constantly selling it to people outside of the city, and they fix it up, and you still become that consumer that rents and pay other people money, and no money comes in that's in your neighborhood is going outside your neighborhood. We want to keep people the money here in Baltimore and to help Baltimore people out instead of outsourcing our money, that we outsource our work.
Absolutely. You had an interesting concept because we had a conversation about houses for dollars and things of that nature. So what is your take and your standpoint on that? And how is your plan better than the houses for dollars?
My plan is better because it's not going to an individual, it's going to the community. The community owns these properties, and these communities will benefit off of these properties, not as separate individuals. The dollar houses is designed for individuals to rent, to fix up, and give you a place to live. They're to keep you being a consumer.
Yeah, because really the dollar house is really set up. Of course, running for mayor, I had to do the research. Dollar house, you really have to have a certain amount of income or you can't really get a dollar house. There was another setup.
So even though it's $1, it's still based off your income. They wouldn't
you
be
have
able
to have a certain amount of access
to
have a dollar house.
You still have to qualify for
right.
a loan.
The biggest gimmick of all time.
And stuff like that.
Right.
See, peep the scenario. The scenario is like this here. I would start with a neighborhood association to an LLC business. I would actually do this 25 times in East District.
Break them up.
Yes. Then we combine them into a community association.
Right.
That community association would be your nonprofit, and your nonprofit can actually draw money from every store or business that you've been supporting for generations. That money will be your community bank, where your people can actually borrow money at a lower interest rate because it's your money.
That's interesting. That's a concept.
That
interesting
is
within itself. So break the scenario down so each individual own their own concept?
No, it's each individual neighborhood association will own their own concept.
Each
Now
individual
the members of these neighborhood associations can actually draw, as like I said, stockholders in these neighborhood associations, a check, or like I said, further invested in their own ventures.
How would be an average member amount?
Well, the city is pretty much people who live in the neighborhood. I would say if I would go to a neighborhood associate, it should be at least 4 or 5 square blocks of the areas.
That's interesting. But I got a question. Let's say, for instance, a neighborhood goes bankrupt, because black people are historically financially illiterate, you know what I'm saying? Do you have any safe havens? Have you ever thought about in the case where a neighborhood could fall into like bankruptcy based on like their business endeavors?
But with him, it's only four or five of those blocks. They only could be bankrupt at one time, right?
No,
you got it broken down.
Okay, a neighborhood association is not a block.
It's a couple of blocks at one time, right?
It's called, like I said, we have
it's a community.
It's a community. You have communities of different blocks and stuff. We have to join together. Once we join together as that neighborhood association, we become an LLC business. And the fact that when you actually get them properties to develop it, create jobs in your neighborhoods, for you got brothers in your neighborhood to work on these buildings, and they can get paid for
they
it.
become businesses.
I understand that.
Each community,
I definitely
one become a
understand that.
business.
See, we definitely need to be able to take care of our own. Everything happening in the city is only because we are not strong enough to take care of our own. We have to rely on the government or nonprofits. Nonprofits is pretty much designed to help the dependent that's already dependent, not the individual worker who's working hard every day to bring home a check.
A bunch of villages. That's exactly what that is. A bunch of villages.
And we, like I said,
interesting concept.
Yeah, that's a very interesting concept.
Well, Kid, just like we did the other candidates, tell us a little about yourself.
Myself, I am like I said, I'm a citizen of Baltimore City that's been working all my life. I've been in the security field for over 40 years. I've been in this country and outside this country doing security work. I am a protector. This is what I do. This is my profession. Give me the opportunity to protect you, and I do it to my highest ability.
Absolutely. What do you think about the people that promise things? They're politicians that always promise things, but then when they get in office, they switch around. What is a guarantee that if you get elected, then you will stand on your word and do what you said that you were going to do?
Because my name is Q Scott, and I'm running for now. I'm financing myself. Not because of the money. If I wanted money, it'd be something different. But the whole point is this here. I love my people. And I see my people, nobody else but my people, suffering every day in these streets. For what reason? Only because of the fact that other people are financing your campaigns, your candidates, your pick for mayors. Since we do not finance political campaigns, other people do. Believe it or not, it's not the fact that it's corrupt, it's just not your government. You haven't paid for it, you haven't supported it. So why would they work for you if you haven't given anything in return?
Absolutely, and we can agree with that. And also at the same token, we have other mayors such as Brandon Scott, who is the mayor now, right? He went to Baltimore schools. You have Bob Wallace, went to Baltimore schools. Baltimore schools. Thiru Vignarajah, Baltimore schools. So what sets you apart from these people? Because they say they connected in the community and they came from grassroots. So what separates you from them?
Because I'm not from Baltimore schools. I'm from New York schools. But what separates me is I'm still here. I'm in the hood. I'm in the neighborhood. I walk the streets. Okay, they used to be from there, but they left. They got their money and they left. Now they want to come back and claim it. You don't do it. You don't have no street cred. I could walk down North Avenue and ask people what they think. You cannot do that because, in fact, you don't know them. You are afraid of them. Like I said, I'm not afraid of my people. I love my people. I will go to wherever you got to go, wherever I got to go to get in touch with you. It doesn't matter. I'm not afraid, and I will ask questions and I hope to get answers back.
So essentially, you're saying you in the field, and they are not. They're nowhere to be present.
No, I mean I came across a lot of people from different campaigns, not
It's still on. It's still on.
different campaigns, not their campaign. Like I said, I came across the Sheila Dixon people, pretty much everybody people, but like I said, they not in the streets. I'm in the streets. Okay. So if they scared to walk these streets, how they gonna be your want to be your mayor if they scared to see you personally in the streets?
Absolutely, absolutely. Now you brought us something about protection, and while we're talking about protection, we want to make sure we talk about the police and your ideals as far as the police interactions with the community and the citizens, police interactions with the government and other officials. What is your take on that?
Well, this crime is a product of poverty. If poverty continues in Baltimore, it's just going to make policing worse, harder to do. Now, the fact that you have so much unemployment, homelessness in the cities, like I said, communities with the capability of taking care of their own, you will see these problems simply just disappear.
So take care of the poverty and you take care of the crime.
You take care of the poverty, you take care of the crime.
Okay. And so do you have any crime plans? Are there any crime plans that's in place where you've already mapped that out for your campaign?
Yes, I did.
Okay, do tell.
Now, the fact that now you sitting here as a consumer, I'm going to turn you into an investor. I'm going to give you stock in your city. With stock in your city, you care more about your city. With stock in your city, you can actually employ your own people for the jobs that's necessary for them to do. Get them off the streets, become, like I said, model citizens, because some fact, people with 9 to 5 do not do crime.
People with 9 to 5 do not do crime. There are some people that would beg to disagree.
Of course, but the majority of people outside doing crimes are people with no jobs.
Yeah, I could agree with that personally,
Research,
but you know,
truly.
it's a be more for real thing. So
That makes a lot of sense.
it does make a lot of sense.
The fact that consequences, it doesn't matter what a person who has nothing to lose. If I have nothing to lose, what do I still fear consequences for? You have to have something that you want to protect to actually suffer consequences.
So there's some people that feel like, you know, mayors and people that's running for congressional offices and in the government, they should be qualified and have some type of qualifications. What do you think about being quote unquote qualified?
My heart qualifies me. Because what all these things happen in the city, you can see that your government doesn't have a heart. Schools, jobs, homelessness, everything that's in Baltimore needs attention. The fact that you have the majority of black, well, we are the majority in Baltimore City. We're the majority politician base. Why is black people suffering and the other side is growing?
That is a good question. So being as though you're running for mayor, would reparations be on the table? Would it be on a ballot when you're elected?
Reparations on the table. The whole point of me giving property to black communities is reparation. That's be able to create wealth. That's reparation. Reparation was created for people to create wealth for themselves, and this is what the whole point is. Black people creating wealth for themselves so they don't have to depend on government or anything else but themselves.
Now, our big question, that big arrangement that they're going to build downtown. What do you think about that Harbor East project?
The Harbor East project is a perfect example of financing campaigns. Do you think they wouldn't have got it if they wasn't be able to put people in place?
So you believe that these people are paid out and their integrity is compromised and they agree with these agreements?
Of course. That's only how they can actually run a campaign with other people's money.
That is very interesting. That is extremely interesting. That this Harbor East discussion is extremely interesting. So I assume based on your response, you're totally against it?
I'm totally against it.
Okay.
Totally against it.
That is, see, these topics have to be brought up.
Well, can I say one more thing?
Absolutely, absolutely.
The Harbor East program, is it designed to give Baltimore City residents jobs or outside sources? We have a problem of a whole lot of people coming in, these illegals. This is still a sanctuary city. People coming in and taking the resources that's pretty much supposed to be for us. But we still have these homelessness and unemployment rapid in the city. But we see where this money going and where jobs is going to go. Okay, I've been to a lot of these meetings, and the fact that outside contractors be able to bring their own people in is pretty much defeat the whole purpose of having them in here. If we can't give our people jobs, we don't want it. I'm sorry. We don't want it if we not able to capable of making money out of these projects.
Well, Baltimore used to focus on a lot of major economics. You know, my dad used to work for Bethlehem Steel and stuff like that. And Bethlehem Steel was closed down. So what do you have any plans in place to replace the economic structure that Baltimore had in place previously?
This is why that we need to be capable of making our own money. If we was capable of creating our wealth, we could do just about anything because we don't have to depend on other people.
So your central focus is definitely helping the black community, specifically within Baltimore City.
Correct. I have no problem telling anybody I'm definitely pro-black. Okay? Because, in fact, black people are suffering every day, either going to jail or dying. See, we got three things in Baltimore City. We got choices. Leave. If you got the money and the capability to take your family and go to better schools, they are doing it. Go to jail. Or simply just die here in these streets. They left us with no options.
That's interesting. That is very interesting that you say that. So, given the fact that Baltimore is kind of sort of that type of city, what type of plans do you plan really to put in place to keep the poverty rates down? Besides the community, the community LLC, and besides your crime prevention, which is focusing on jobs, what other opportunities do you have for the city of Baltimore? And on top of that, what do you have to say for the white people in Baltimore City that say, well, are you focusing on them and not us?
So the white people in Baltimore City, we know the fact your problem is pretty much our people coming on your side and starting trouble. If we had what you had on our side, we're gonna be in your neighborhoods.
Say that one more time.
If we had put it like this here, a whole lot of people from our side, black side, go to Fells Point because of the fact there's nothing on our side to entertain them at all. If we had the capability or the resources to keep our people on our side, we would stay away from that side.
That's interesting. That is very interesting.
This is a two cities. This is the tale of two cities here.
It is.
Okay, you can look at North Avenue and Fells Point. Okay, I've been here for a minute. I've seen Fells Point grow. I've seen the Inner Harbor grow, but North Avenue still stayed the same. But we still a majority.
Or maybe decline, and maybe because resources aren't adequately dispersed. So what about those city government budgets that's been presumably and allegedly mishandled? How do you plan to deal with those allegations?
All the money that's come to the city pretty much is for people who already depended on the system, not people who's working and making a paycheck. It's like this here. I'm a work, and I'll pay my taxes, and I get taxes for everything I do with my money. Okay, with none of the benefits of my taxpayer money. They say I make too much money. I can't get food stamps. I can't get no health care. I can't get all this because to them I make too much money. But the people who's mostly dependent on the city gets everything. Nonprofits is designed for people who are already all dependent. So a person with a job gets no love.
That's absolutely true. Now, you're running for the Democratic Party, and for the better part of the last 3-4 decades, Baltimore has been a predominantly Democrat-ran city, and people are expecting change. How would you bring that change about? How can you assure the people that you're not the same Democrat that they used to?
Well, I'm not the same Democrat. I'm not even Democrat. Okay, I'm running for Democrat because of the fact it's the only option. I'm not a Republican.
Okay.
That's just that. See, I'm a revolutionary.
Okay.
Okay, everything is pretty much to organize and strengthen my people to be able to take care of the things that's necessary for them to survive. Martin Luther King said, "You gotta pull. They expect us to pull us by bootstraps, but they don't give us no boots." Okay, they gave people land for them to get that start. Okay, we need that capability of creating income. We get the capability of creating income, we can take care of all the problems. It's simple as that. I'm a working person. Like I said, in time, I'm going to retire and be dependent on the state because I cannot leave. I have no finances to sustain after I retire from my job. We work right now to become dependent. Who knows, by the time I'm 65, is the Social Security going to be there? We don't know. It's an iffy game.
It is very iffy. Any questions you would like to ask someone, Wayne?
Actually, this is quite interesting. So, Keith, is there anything we're missing? Mr. Scott, here for you running for mayor, because actually this is your time to tell Baltimore why you should be mayor of our beautiful city.
As mayor of Baltimore, when I moved here, I saw a little thing on the park benches, Charm City. Charm City, it can be Charm City again. With the help of you, the people, dependent on yourselves. Strong, black, independent people will make a change. With me, I will definitely create anything I can to keep you strong and independent by giving you the capability of creating your own future.
Absolutely, yeah, appreciate that. We would like to know as well, do you have any plans for the youth? What are your plans as far as the youth, especially with youth and teen violence? What's your plans as far as that?
Well, I pretty much ask these young people, what do you want? One brother told me, I want a job. I said, okay, what can you do? He said, he don't know. So I point him out to the unions. I said, learn a trade. Be valuable to yourself. Be valuable to anybody else. Until you're able to be valuable, you won't be able to do nothing. Just sitting here, just running. We have unions. We have a whole lot of trade schools. Okay, but the problem in Baltimore City, we don't even use our trades, brothers and sisters. We have unions that would train for free. But like I said, we don't use union workers. Until we actually, like I said, show love to our people, this can never end.
So you will encourage the youth to go into trades and business, is that correct?
Yes, trades and business. It's like this. It's impossible for everybody to be a boss. It's impossible, but anybody can be an investor. By investing in your city and being part of the people to make your city grow.
And also, what about the elderly? You know, it's the youth and the elderly both are being kind of sort of, neglected in a way, not just by the city of Baltimore or by America. You know, we don't pay enough attention to them. So is there a plan in place also for the elderly, for their protection, for their health care?
Well, see, like I said, this plan to become self-sufficient as a community solves all these problems. We rely too much on city, state. We need to rely on ourselves, community. Communities itself, if they had the capability and strong enough to actually take care of these problems, but we're not. Until I become mayor, then we will be. We can take care of everything on ourselves. We have the people, we have the smarts to do all this. All we need is the capable of creating wealth, and I would do that.
Absolutely.
Hey, thank you. So we're gonna take the last few moments. You look into that camera and you tell Baltimore why you should be mayor of the city. Remember, I am Uncle Wayne. Thanks for joining Be More For Real.
I'm on G Danny.
Why I should be mayor? Because I love my people. I love my people to a extent that I would do anything for you. If I have to go on the streets and organize each neighborhood association. I will do this, turn you into an LLC business, and help you create your wealth that you can take care of your own. My website has a lot of information about me. I will tell you to go to my website, and like I said, if you have any questions, just let me know.
What's your website? Give me information.
KeithBScottForMayor.com.
KeithBScottForMayor.com.
Again, thanks for joining us. I am Uncle Wayne.
Man, we appreciate you. Be More For Real podcast brought to you by way of Real Explosion. I am co-host OMG Danny, and we have Mayor-elect Keith Scott in the building with us. Keep it locked. We got you covered.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.